Hello friends and welcome. My name is Popeye and today we're playing some more Steins Gate Zero. Before we get started, just some potential trigger warnings for this game. This game deals with the following subjects, but is not limited to... Dang it, Samus, I'll berate you in a second. Trigger warnings include, but are not limited to, murder, death, torture, dismemberment, blood, gore, rape, abduction, any of those things against a minor. If any of those things is not for you, please, by all means, find some place that you would rather be today. Now I can berate you, Samuses. I thought you were canceling your subscription. Stop that. This is not Steins Gate 13. But yes, last time we finished the first bad ending, which is Duo Automata. And in that ending, basically, where did we get to? Oh, right. So we were going back from cleaning the apartment that Maho and Kirimoaka had messed up. We encountered a van that had a bunch of people with guns. We started running. We got split up. Maho eventually meets up with Dr. Leskinen. They decide that the people are clearly after Christina, Amadeus Christina. So they decide to run back to the lab and delete the access points in Japan before anyone can access them. They get there, and the other professor, the woman whose name escapes me right now, appears with a gun, shoots Dr. Leskinen, killing him instantly. Then tells Maho, give me the master password, otherwise I blow your brains out. Maho and Christina trick her by making her believe that there's a musical lock to the tune of Mozart. Moeka appears, saving Maho. They escape down a hallway. Then Maho decides that they have to go back. They hold up the professor. I want to say her name was... starts with Alex. I don't know. That's probably not right. They hold her up. She tricks Maho, ends up shooting Moeka. Moeka ends up shooting her back. Both of them survive, and Maho is able to delete Amadeus Christina entirely, thus ruining all their research, and then she heads back to Japan alone. Maybe it was Dr. Jones? I don't know. Anyways, so that was the bad ending. Like I had said before, it is the least finished ending according to Steam achievements, probably because of the fact that it was literally about 5 hours long. For your reference, only about a third of Steam players who own Steins Gate Zero have gotten that ending, as opposed to, I think it's in the 40s, 43 or 47% have the true ending. There's some numbers for you. And then we loaded save, and we're starting down the next path. So the trigger, if you recall, that took us down the bad path was after Maho got locked out from Amadeus. We received a phone call from Amadeus, and we decided to ignore it. And that took us to the first bad ending. We booted save, this time answered it. All it is Amadeus Christina saying, please help me. And then Reading Steiner kicks in and we swap world lines. And most importantly, we swap back to the beta world line, which means one of our friends is still alive and well with us. So let's go say hi, shall we? So, because we're now in the beta world line, Christina is alive. What that also probably means is that Mayuri is now dead. We haven't gotten that far yet. We've only seen her. But yeah, welcome back to the Beta World line featuring No Time Machine. You were only half paying attention. So, the decision we made that took us to that first bad end, we booted save. We chose the other option, which was to answer the phone call from Amadeus Christina. All she says on the phone call is, "Please help me." And then Reading Steiner kicks in, and we swap world lines back to the Beta World line, where Christina is still alive. And if I can open my phone, I cannot. Amadeus no longer exists in this world line. Or at least it's not on our phone anymore. We don't know why. We just know Christina's alive. And we don't know this for sure yet, but Mayuri is probably dead again. So, yay. And yeah, that's basically where we ended off. Finally calmed myself down. She was still there. She still existed. Now that I'd calmed down, I realized what that meant.
気にしないで。無理もないわよ。私だって時々あるもの。そういうこと。
そういうこと？
思い出したんでしょ？まゆりのこと。
There we go, Mayuri's probably dead. That's right, Kurisu was here, which meant that this was... I keep getting them mixed up. Alpha World Line is where Mayuri dies. Beta World Line is where Christina dies. The world without Mayuri. The world where Mayuri died. Some small part of me had wished that this was the world beyond Steins Gate. It was a new future where someone else had opened for me, and just replaced all of the game audio with straight silence. But of course, that was too good to be true. Randomizer abandoned, it was too hard. There was no way for me to know what had happened. I must have made my choice. To give up on Mayuri. There was the future where she was gone. It was too ridiculous. The only randomizers I've done are Pokemon randomizers, and my experience with Pokemon randomizers is... And I'd always do a randomized Nuzlocke. The first one I did, I made it all the way to Victory Road before I died. The next one, I made it... How far did I make it? This was for Gen 2, so I made it through... What's that? 15 of the 16 gyms. And then... No, I made it to the Elite Four in that one. And then my next two randomizers, I died before the first gym and before the second gym. Or actually, in the second gym. That's my experience with randomizers. Confronted once more with the reality of Mayuri's death, my heart felt like it was about to burst. How had she died?
Okabe?
Did they push her in front of a train? Did they shoot her? Or... Or jelly? His tiny hand wrapped around mine. Ah, so that's what our floor looks like. I never knew. Little by little, my racing heart began to calm down. I guess there is flooring here. It's always covered by the text box.
Yeah.
Actually, can I remove the text box? There's a way to do that, right?
そうじゃないんだ。 そうじゃ。
I don't want to keep pressing buttons because I pressed 2 buttons I didn't want to press.
薬飲む？水持ってくる。
You have a new pillow as well. Is your new pillow nice and comfy? Oh, Christina's bringing me some water. Here we go. Whoop. I rummaged through my pocket and found a small box of pills. It was the same anxiety medication that I'd already been taking. You don't know? You haven't tried it yet? Even in this world, I was still on the same drugs. Looked around the room while Kurisu got me some water from the tap.
ねえ岡部、どうして
Fair enough.
どうしてここに来たの？ここにはずっと寄りつかなかったでしょ。橋田も来なくなったし。
誰も。
ええ。
The room was awfully clean then. I took a closer look and saw there were a few places like Daru's PC that were covered in dust. The rest seemed to have been regularly cleaned. Yes, exactly, Samus. You've already done too much. You already did a sub that you shouldn't have.
お前はクリスは来ていたのか。
時々ね。じゃないと寂しいだろうと思って。
I didn't have to ask who they were. Mayuri loved this place. She loved the future gadget lab. She loved the time she spent with all the lab members here.
ごめんね。
どうして謝る？
だって。
I waited, but no answer ever came. What was she apologizing for? For talking about Mayuri? For making me remember? Or for making me
クリ
choose?
ス。
何？
あ、いや、なんでもない。
If I said something, she'd answer me right away. I could reach out and touch her. That alone brought me to the verge of tears. If I just stayed here like this... What was I thinking? I'd given up on everything and left her to die. And still, I was happy to be back here in this world line with Kurisu. As I was sad over losing Mayuri, part of me was thinking I wanted to stay here, even though I didn't have the right. There was a god in this world. He must be a cruel, twisted being. Why was he doing this to me, again? Was what I'd done that wrong? I'd already made my choice once. There was no way to save the world. There was no way to save Kurisu, but... Kurisu in front of me was already starting to waver. Should I go back to the beta world line? Should I send the D-mail? With what machine? The D-mail?
そういえば、電話レンジカッコ仮はどうした？
どうって、あんたが破棄させたんでしょ？忘れたの？
ああ、そうだったな。
The phone wave, named Existence Subject to Change, no longer existed, it seemed. Of course it didn't. Its mere existence had made us a target of CERN. Without it, I couldn't leave this world line on my own. Even if I did stay here in this world line, it wouldn't be my responsibility. It wasn't my fault, and it wasn't something I'd wanted. Which meant...
ねえ岡部。悪いんだけど、何か飲むもの買ってきてくれない？
飲むもの？
ちょっと喉乾いちゃったのよね。できれば温かいものがいいわ。
インスタントのコーヒーぐらいなら作るぞ。
Wasn't that what Chris had always made me do? 2 cubes of sugar, no milk.
コーヒー切らしちゃってるのよ。
わかった。
Yeah, I should go. I wanted to get outside and think things through.
ミルクと砂糖の入った甘いやつね。
ミルクは入れないんじゃなかったのか。
寒い日には思いっきり甘ったるいものが飲みたくなる。
了解だ。
I stood up and headed for the door, but turned around halfway.
何？
いや、
Felt like if I took my eyes off her, she'd disappear. That was far too embarrassing to say. Yeah, amazing.
岡部。しっかりね。
子供じゃないんだ。お使いぐらいできる。
そうね。いってらっしゃい。
My whole body relaxed the second I stepped outside of the lab. Evidently, meeting the living Kurisu had made me really tense. I didn't know how to talk to her or what to say anymore. Even though I'd spoken to Amadeus Kurisu like it was the most normal thing in the world. I still couldn't believe it, though. Was this really the Alpha World line? If Kurisu was here, it had to be. But then why? Who had caused the world line to change, and how? Okay, yeah, here's the flashback to the phone call that we answered. That call from Kurisu. That what triggered it, somehow? No, I should stop thinking about it. Someone else had caused it somehow. I shouldn't get involved anymore. I didn't want to. I didn't want to overthrow the structure of the world anymore. I just wanted to live in peace. In a universe with no world lines or attractor fields. Attractor field. A fictional world line convergence zone. This is the standard accepted model for quantum physics in the year 2036, after the many worlds interpretation and the Copenhagen interpretation. It is a deterministic interpretation where many world lines gather into a world branch called an attractor field. This attractor field is simply a zone in which all world lines will eventually reach the same end result. Major splits in the world line at an attractor field level are called world line trunks. One pre-2010 example of a world line trunk is the year 2000. I'd stopped letting the whims of fate rule my life. There was nothing left that I could do. Suddenly, something seemed very wrong. Kurisu's words a moment ago, what had they meant?
岡部。しっかりね。
She couldn't mean to. I turned around and rushed back into the lab.
クリス！クリス！お前、それ。
参ったわね。見つかっちゃったか。
She was just where I'd seen her the first time, standing and looking toward the back of the development room. In the depths of the darkness, the spot that just a moment ago had been covered by cloth, I saw an old microwave with its door taken off. Do we really need to explain what a microwave is? Okay, chat, here's what a microwave oven is. A cooking appliance that heats the moisture in food using microwaves. They were originally called radar ranges. Radar ranges. Radar in this case referring to electromagnetic waves. Microwave ovens were invented when a communications radar technician realized that EM waves could warm food. Research was done on the process after that, and in 1947 they were sold to the public in America. Microwave ovens use waves in the 2.45 gigahertz frequency range, with home units having an output between 500 to 1000 watts, and commercial ovens between 1500 and 2000 watts. This frequency range is called the ISM band, which is the same one used by wireless internet. There's more than you needed to know about microwave ovens, and it is apparently imperative to this story. The phone wave, name subject to change. Future gadget number 8. It was the gadget that had changed my fate. No, the fate of the world.
どうして？それは破棄したんじゃなかったのか？
ええ、破棄したわ。これは私が新しく作り直したの。言ってみれば電話レンジ買いね。
Phone Wave Custom?
正しくはカッコ仮がつくんだった。それなら電話レンジカッコ仮買いになる。
Phone Wave, name still subject to change.
名前なんてどうだっていい。作り直したって。どうしてそんなことを？
過去にメールを送るためよ。メールを送って世界線を変えるの。うん。あんたにとっては戻すって言った方がいいのかもね。世界線を。これ完成したのはね、実は1ヶ月以上前なの。それからはひたすらここに立って送るべきか送らないでおくべきか悩み続けてた。それがまさかあんたの方から来るなんてね。
お前何を？
ねえ岡部、あんたついさっき別の世界線から来たでしょ。
Yeah, she's given it a month of being like, should I do this?
それもベータ世界線から。違う？
気づいてたのか？
そうでなきゃあんたがあんなことするはずないもの。
あんなこと？
だからあんな風に私を抱きしめたりとか、そういうことよ。
It was all so wonderful. The way her cheeks reddened in embarrassment as she looked away, the way she pursed her lips, the way she fiddled with the ends of her hair. Everything was just so wonderful. I realized it again. I was in love with her.
さらに言えば、その世界線の変動は誰か別の人の手によるもので、あんたが好き好んで変動させたわけじゃない。当たってる？
すべてを見通しというわけか。
どれだけあんたのこと見てきたと思ってるのよ。ああ、いや違うからな。見てきたって別にそういう意味じゃなくて、いや違わなくもないけど。とにかく
I'm glad Daru isn't here to make any snide comments about that. Took a deep breath and looked up at me
あんたが
again.
ベータ世界線から来たってことは、あんたは過去に一度その世界を選択したってことでしょ。
She was so far beyond what I could hope to be. Those brief moments, she'd discovered all that. She was right about everything. But even so, I couldn't let her know. Admitting that would mean admitting that I'd left her to die. There was no way I could do that.
すまない。
In the end, that was all I said. But that was an admission, all the same. But instead of looking sad, she...
謝るなバカ。あんたが自分で決めたことでしょうが。だったら自分の選択に自信を持ちなさい。
I mean, also technically, they took the brain dump of her from, I believe it was March. So assuming Maho continued the research, technically she could also still be an AI right now as well. She tried to cheer me up. That's right. Chris was right. I was the one who'd chosen the beta world line. But...
それにね、あんたは多分間違ってなかった。さっき来たばっかりのあんたは知らないだろうけど、この半年間、あんたはずっと自分を責めてた。そんな素振り、私には決して見せようとしなかったけど。
It was the same. The same as what I'd gone through. It was the same as the beta world line.
どうしてあげることもできなかった。だって、あんたの苦しみは私のせいだから。私を生かすために、あんたは苦しんでたんだから。 でもね、それも今日で終わり。
But that ends today. Today I die.
終わりにしなきゃいけないのよ。だってこのままじゃあんたはずっと罪の意識に苛まれて、最後には押しつぶされちゃう。
同じだ。
どういうこと？
どっちにしても結局俺はずっと後悔するんだ。マユリを救えなかったこと、お前を救えなかったこと。アルファ世界線にいてもベータ世界線にいてもそれは変わらない。
So maybe I should just stay here.
しっかりしなさい、岡部倫太郎。
Both die. World Line 3, Okabe in prison.
クリス、
なんて顔してるのよ。あんたらしくない。私の好きな法王院京馬さんはもっと自信に満ちた顔してなきゃ。
Owen Kyoma, huh? There was a name I hadn't heard in a long time.
あんたは正しい道を選択したの。
Ben Kenobi. There's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
それは決して間違ってない。
でも俺はお前を。
いい？今あんたがここにいるのは、そうね、夢を見ているだけよ。
夢？
Of course I know him. He's me!
そう、夢の中であんたは私に会った。ただそれだけのこと。と、そう思えば少しは気も楽でしょ。
She sighed a little and laughed.
これだけ脳の研究が進んでいるのに、夢を見るメカニズムって実はまだ明確にはなっていないのよね。眠っている間に脳内では記憶の整理が行われている。その過程で発生するのが夢だっていう説もあるけど、要するにここはベータ世界線のあんたが迷い込んだ夢の中の世界。あんたの頭の中を整理するためにね。そしてこれが夢ならいつかは目を覚まさなきゃならない。
Plot twist. Everything after we went to the psychiatrist's office has all just been us under hypnosis.
でもこれは夢なんかじゃない。現にこうして。
I reached out and touched her cheek.
現にこうしてお前はここにいるじゃないか。
感触だって脳が感じさせている機能の一つよ。
She took a quick step back, and the sensation of her cheek disappeared from my fingers.
ここにいてもあんたは幸せにはなれない。ずっと後悔の念を拭うことはできないの。
Being friends with her must suck.
それは私も同じ。
Yeah, all of your happiness, it's just a trick your brain plays on you. You're not really happy. Thanks, Christina. Great. Thanks.
ベータ世界線でも変わらない。俺はずっとお前を助けられなかったことを悔やみながら生きてきた。
だけど少なくともマユリは幸せでいられるでしょ。
マユリは
I still can't use my phone, by the way. I've been trying every so often. She doesn't know anything, because that's what I wanted. I wanted her to know nothing and be happy. For now, that wish was still coming true, but...
あんたはマユリに笑っててほしい、そう願ってる。私も同じなの。ということはやっぱりあんたの選択は間違ってはなかったってことよ。
I'd finally met her again, but... She was here alive, right in front of me, but...
もう
She walked up to me without even trying to hide her
いい加
frustration.
減にしなさい、岡部倫太郎。一度出した結論でしょうが、あんたはここにいちゃいけないの。帰らなきゃいけない。夢から覚めなきゃいけないのよ。だってもう そうやって苦しむあんたを見ていたくないから。
クリス。
さあ、これ以上は時間の無駄よ。私はやるから。
She turned away from me. I could feel the strength of her will, her resolve. I remembered what I'd seen just after I'd come to this world line. She'd been just standing there in front of the phone wave. Thinking back, she'd probably already made her decision. Without anyone knowing, without anyone to say goodbye to. She chose to go to World Line where she would no longer exist. It'd probably taken her a long time and a lot of struggle to come to that decision. She'd probably asked herself 1,000 times if it was really the right answer. This was what she chose, and after all that, I didn't have the right to stop her. It would be wrong.
ねえ岡部、夢から覚める前に一つ約束して。
約束？
ベータ世界線に行ったら私のことは忘れなさい。
That was just the opposite of what she'd said that day. That day when I'd chosen the Beta World line, she'd said to me, "Don't forget me." But now she was asking for the opposite.
忘れるなんて、そんなことできるわけないだろう。
She was always like that. She always cared more about others than herself. She always sacrificed herself. She was asking this for my sake only. She didn't want to be forgotten. She hated being forgotten more than anyone else could.
言ったでしょ。これは夢よ。夢は普通起きたら忘れるもんでしょ。
She was stubborn and bullheaded. I would never be able to forget her. But
子供の頃に見た悪夢は今でも覚えてるぞ。
誰が悪夢な。誰が。
it was all I could do to keep from breaking down. That was probably the same for her.
とにかく私のことは忘れること。今日あったこともこれまであったことも、それが私の望みだから。
She turned around, stuck out her pinky finger. She forced it around mine.
指切り玄満。嘘ついたら海馬に電極ぶっ刺す。指切った。
随分と語呂が悪いな。
ほっとけ。
Her hand moved away from mine. Her gaze looked away from me. It was almost time to say goodbye. Sending a message to the past. I knew it was the right thing to do. I knew this is what she wanted. But still.
クリス。
Our voices overlapped.
どうした？
あんたこそ何？
なんでもない。ただ呼んでみただけだ。
The name of the person I cared for.
偶然ね。私も同じ。
Name of the person I loved.
ねえ、あんたは覚えてる？私と初めて会った時のこと。
忘れられるわけがない。何しろ強烈だったからな。
それを言うならあんたの方こそ。あんた、あの時はまさかこんな風になるなんて思ってもみなかったわ。まさかあんな出会いでこんなにも。
Would lead to meeting someone so important to me. Not that I'd say it now.
まったくだな。
I couldn't say it, but
でも言っとくけど、私たちの出会いも覚えてていいのは今のうちだからな。
even for a
世界
little,
線が戻ったら忘れなきゃいけないんだからな。
even just for a
分かってる
second,
よ。
just for an instant.
そんなに簡単に忘れられるんだ。
It would last just a little
お前
longer.
が言い出したことだろ。
Her voice,
そうだけど、 そんな風にあっさり言われちゃうと、それはそれでムカつく。
The way she moved.
忘れろと言ったり忘れるなと言ったり、一体どっちなんだ？
Her smile.
冗談。嘘よ。嘘。
なんだ、嘘なのか？
そう。嘘。
Just a little longer so that I could remember it all. But I was out of time.
岡部。それじゃあ。
Those words were the sign that the magic was over.
あ、
There were a million things I wanted to say, but I stopped myself. Chrissy smiled satisfied and turned back toward the phone wave. She probably already had the message ready. Phone wave started to boom and crackle like thunder. There was a long, long countdown. The whole time Chrissy faced away from me, and I just watched. The noise got louder. The countdown continued, and then it was time.
岡部。いい目覚めよ。
Chrissy turned around with a big smile on her face. Her voice was cut off by the roar. So that did send us back to the... What is this? Alpha World line. And then I woke up from my short dream. No, Beta World line. I keep getting those mixed up. Color gradually returned to my blacked out vision. The lab started to come back into focus. I could tell immediately that the world line had changed. I could still see Kurisu when I closed my eyes, but she wasn't in the development room anymore. It was like the whole thing had been a daydream. I felt like I'd been caught in the boundary between dreaming and wakefulness. I was back. Back to a world without Kurisu. This wasn't the Alpha World line. There was no point in even bothering to check. A moment ago, only Kurisu and I had been in this room. And now everyone was here.
おかり、どうしたの？具合悪い？
いや、大丈夫だ。
My Yuri.
お薬飲みますか？
平気だよ。心配ない。
Lukako. And...
本当に？無理しちゃダメだよ。
Kagari Sheena. Mayuri and Kagari were here. That meant I was back to the Beta World
ちょっ
line.
と腹が減っただけだ。朝から何も食べてなくてな。
もうオカリンさんたらダメだよ。ちゃんとご飯は食べなきゃ。ダルおじさんみたいに大きくなれないよ。
We don't want to be big like Uncle Daru, and please don't call him that.
一食抜いた方がマシだよ。
There we go. Huh?
だったらマユシーが何か作ってあげるよ。
No, please no.
ママが作れるの？もうかがりちゃんまでそういうこと言うんだから。
We still can't check her phone, by the way.
最近はユキさんにお料理教えてもらってるんだよ。あ、じゃあ僕が手伝うから。
待ってくれ。
すみません。僕手伝わない方がいいですか？
いや、そうじゃない。そうじゃないんだ。
Yes, Samus is. Which statement is a scary statement? Being like Daru? Yep. I looked around at everyone, then back at Kagari.
かがりさん。
The other thing that you can't see because of my face is we don't know what day it is either. We haven't known what day it is this whole episode so far. Something was different.
カガリ。さっき、マユリのことをなんて呼んでたか聞いてもいいか
You think it's scary that Kagari called Mayuri mommy? Technically, she is her mother, just, like 15 years in the future. And now her child is older than her, because time travel.
なんてってママだよ。
どうして
どうしても何もママはママだもんね、ママ。やっぱりそう呼ばれるのちょっと照れちゃうな。
Felt vaguely dizzy watching Mayuri fidget in
知
embarrassment.
ってるのか二人とも未来の世界で親子だってことを
Don't spill the beans!
かがりちゃんのことはオカリンが教えてくれたんだよ。
俺が
本当のことを知っておいた方がいいってねえねえ。
Did I really tell them? Did I tell them something so important?
もしかしてルカ子も
ごめんなさい。僕聞くつもりはなかったんですけど、耳に入ってしまって。
Lukako lowered his head in apology.
でも大丈夫です。他の人には言ってませんし、それに僕ちょっとだけ嬉しかったんです。皆さんと秘密を共有できて。
The difference here is that originally only us, Daru, Suzuha. I think that was it. I think we were the only three who knew about the future. And of course, Christina, were she alive? But now we've let everyone in on the secret.
本当は直接教えてもらえればよかったんですけど。
Even Lukako knew about Mayuri and Kagari. Which meant that, of course...
でも驚きました。タイムマシンとか未来とかお話の世界のものだって思ってたんですけど、実現できるなんて。
He knew about the time machine. Evidently, I hadn't simply come straight back from the Alpha World line. I was in a world line slightly different from the one I'd been in before. The divergence meter I'd used before was gone now. That meant I didn't have a precise number. This all felt very different. The problem was finding out what was the same as the old world line and what was different. So, if I remember correctly, we're on 1.05 something something, which was actually very close to what we had before.
カガリもう少し質問させてほしい。
何？
I showered Kagari with questions in an effort to find out what was going on. Here's what I learned. First, Kagari retained her memories of her childhood, in other words, of the year 2036. So there's already a huge difference, so she doesn't come to us not knowing who she is. We didn't do any of the trying to find out who she is. Which probably also means that we never contacted the Rounder girl. Jeez, my brain is mush when it comes to names in this game. And yeah, so basically all of that never happened. She knew Mayuri, Daru, Suzuha, and also Ferris and Lukako. Okay, that's the same. But as for what the world of 2036 was like, and how she'd become Mayuri's daughter, she hadn't told them the details about that. Fortunately, they hadn't seemed interested in knowing about their futures. Everyone always thinks they want to know what their future holds. When the chance finally comes, fear outweighs your curiosity. The future wasn't always a happy thing. Knowing the future might destroy your dreams. Might be a death sentence, like it was for me. Some people would lose all sense of meaning in their lives. They knew that there was inevitably going to be a war in which 5 billion people died.
それじゃあここに来たのはルカ子の家に居候したのがきっかけで間違いないな。
っていうかオカリンさんがママと引き合わせてくれたんだよ。覚えてないの？
いや、そういうわけじゃないんだが、一応確かめておこうと思ってな。
一応ね。変なオカリンさん。
You have a hunger. Don't eat your pillow. Pillows are not tasty. Kagari going missing had happened almost exactly as I remembered it. The same was true of how she came to us,
行
and
方不明になっていた間はどこで何をしていたのか全然覚えていないのか。
綺麗さっぱり。気づいたらお寺で寝かされてた。
so it's almost the opposite. Not quite, but so she remembers her childhood, but she forgets from when she came to the past until a couple days ago, maybe a couple weeks at this point. And then previously she hadn't remembered her childhood. She also hadn't remembered anything up until the past few weeks. She was still missing some of her memories too. It's not a giant marshmallow, even if it looks like it. Also, don't put it over a campfire, that won't end well. In other words, in this world line, the only memories she had were of her childhood and of the last few weeks since she'd woken up in the Chiba Mountains. The most important part was still missing. Was there anything else I needed to ask? I was staring at the floor trying to think when I realized that something was missing.
床が綺麗だ。
さっき岡部さんが来る前に掃除しておきました。
いや、そうじゃなくて床に小さな穴が
Hello,
開いて
Avier.
たは
How's
ず
it
なんだ。
going?
床に穴ですか？
Ah, the hole's missing. So, terrorists didn't break into our apartment. The lab had been attacked just last night. How do we know what day it is? I guess we didn't time leap, so I guess actually it would be the same day. I mean, I don't think it'll taste very good, Samus says, and it's brand new. During the attack, one of their bullets had left a dark hole in the floor.
穴なんて開いてたかな。
Had some string cheese?
よかったと思うけど。
Man, I haven't touched string cheese in years.
ちなみにお前たち昨日はどうだった？
昨日のパーティーのことすっごく楽しかったよ。
Now you want cheese?
あんなに楽しかったの私初めてだった。
They wouldn't say that if there had been an attack, which meant that the attack had never taken place. Was no one after Kagari in this world? No, it was too early to assume that. I still didn't know what had happened when she'd gone missing. Till I did, I couldn't say for sure if she was safe. Just like how sometimes Mayuri's death would occur on different days in the Alpha World line, the same thing might happen a few days later. In fact, it would be better to be cautious.
またみんなでパーティーしたいね。
その時は僕も何か作るよ。
私も手伝う。
They all started happily talking about last night's party. At first glance, it was a peaceful scene. Something sinister might be happening. I just didn't know it. No, I knew something had to be happening. The fact that the world line was changing was proof. Why had it changed anyway? I thought back to the events of that night. First, someone had taken over Amadeus. Kurisu had called me and asked for help. The world line had changed right after I'd answered. Don't let your dreams be memes. Which meant that the key was Amadeus? Did Amadeus have something to do with the world line change? What about the group who'd attacked Kagari? Was it all connected? Maybe I needed to find out.
ところでかがりちゃん、時間
We still can't
大
open our
丈
cell
夫？
phone.
いっけない。休憩時間終わってた。店長に怒られちゃう。
店長ということはバイトしてるのか？
そうだよ。下のブラウン管工房で。ってこの前言ったじゃん。
そうだったか。
In the old world line, Kagari had started working for Tenoji after the attack. That was another difference.
もう今日のオカリンさんはボケボケだね。しっかりしてよ。
すまない。
Kagari hopped and skipped out of the room. Her words and mannerisms were much more childish than they'd been in the last world
アルバイ
line.
ト頑張ってね。はーい。それじゃ行ってきまーす。
かがり、戻る前にもう一つだけ聞かせてくれ。
I asked one final question to Kagari, who was now giving a crisp salute.
アマデウスという言葉を聞いて何か思い当たることはないか？
アマテウス？
Kagari seemed to think for a moment.
ごめん、わかんないや。
そうか。
She didn't look like she was lying or being sarcastic. She must really not have known. I watched her leave the lab and took out my phone. Finally! There was another thing I needed to check. What was happening with Amadeus? Okay, so two things. We can access our phone, and we have a date again. It's day after New Year's. That was inferred from the conversation. But the Amadeus icon is still missing from our screen. Amadeus, the AI that held Kurisu Makise's personality and memories. The application which started the program. But the program was gone.
悪かったな。こんなところに呼び出して。
別に構わないわ。ちょうど近くまで来てたから。
Can I open my phone? Oh, what friends do we have? Okay, so we still have Moeka. Okay. Got all these people still. I don't think any of that's changed. All our text messages are gone. After seeing the icon missing on my phone, I'd contacted Maho immediately. My goal, of course, was to see what was going on with Amadeus in this world. I had to find
で、
out.
話って？
アマデウスのことだ。
Maho's eyes suddenly went wide. The reaction surprised me as well. It simply said the word Amadeus.
あなた、どうして知ってるの？
どうしてって、どういうことだ？
どうしてあなたがアマデウスのことを知ってるのよ。だってあのプロジェクトは去年の夏、クリスの事件があったあの後に凍結されたのよ。
凍結された？アマデウスが？凍結ってことはつまりプロジェクト自体打ち切られたってことか？
はっきり言ってしまえばそういうことね。
Clenched her fists in anger. It seemed the change in this world line was a big one.
で、さっきの質問。どうしてあなたがアマデウスのことを知ってるの？
それは。
Did I tell her about the world lines and attractor field theory?
クリスから聞いたんだよ。
Or should we take the
大学の
easy,
先輩が
simple solution?
そういう研究をしてるって。
クリスが？あの子、あなたにそんな話までしていたのね。
I decided that it wasn't the time to tell her. If I tried to explain everything, I'd have to tell her about D-mail and the time machine. Maho didn't seem to know about all that yet. I could imagine what she'd do if she heard the truth. She was yet another one of those people who were entranced by the possibilities of science.
アマデウスが凍結されたっていう話、もう少し詳しく教えてくれないか？理由は何だったんだ？
なんでも外部団体からクレームが入ったんですって。人の記憶を人工知能に持たせるのは 人間の複製を作り出すのと同じこと。神のみに許される所業だって。欧米って自分たちの価値観で物を言う人が多いのよね。特にそういうデリケートな部分は。
理由はそれだけなのか？
ええ、少なくとも私はそう聞いてるわ。いきなり研究は中止だって言われて、教授たちも随分怒ってた。
The Amadeus program was stopped. And, we got a message. So, okay. So, from Luko, Kabe, there's something I want you to tell me. And our options are, you okay with asking me? Ask my ear. Shouldn't you ask your dad? That's very terse. You okay with asking me, I guess, is the standard answer. Anyone have any preference? Which was the first one? It's been 0.2 seconds and I already forgot the order I read these in. Also, it loops. The nicest answer, you okay with asking me? Okay. Yes, I think you can give me good advice. Ha! You are wrong, child. I don't want you expecting too much. Set expectations. Good work. What kind of gift do you think a father would enjoy? Peace and quiet. Your father? Oh, please don't mean Daru. Please don't mean Daru. I think the darkness within him goes very deep. Huh? The darkness? Oh, you know, darkness, a black handkerchief? Maybe that would be a good idea? Maybe, yeah. Handkerchief? Great, I'll do that, but why black? I think your dad probably likes black. For real? Thank you. Thank you, Okabe. Meanwhile, Maho's just like staring at us, pissed off, and we're having a conversation about birthday presents. That have something to do with the world line change too? Wait. How did I meet Maho? We originally met at the Amadeus seminar. That never happened.
どうしたの？
いや、思い出してたんだ。君と出会った時のことを。
ああ、あの時のこと。ああいう偶然ってあるのね。
I asked a few more questions. Didn't care not to rouse her suspicions. Managed to learn the basic story. Maho had really wanted to see the place where Kurisu had died. Finally went to the radio building. She'd run into me.
オカルト的な考え方って大嫌いだけど、でもあなたと出会えたのはクリスが繋いでくれた縁なのかもしれないわね。
Karma. Perhaps another example of a tractor field convergence. It had already been decided that Maho and I would meet here in Akihabara. But was there some meaning in that?
そうそう。マユリさんたちによろしく伝えておいてくれるかしら。昨日は楽しかったって。
Evidently, she'd gone to last night's party in this world line too.
おかげで日本でのいい思い出ができたわ。
思い出って帰るのか？
すぐにじゃないけどね。言ったでしょ？私今クリスがやっていた研究を引き継いでるの。いつまでも日本でバカンス気分を堪能してるわけにもいかないのよ。
そうか。
Still, he was only in Japan for another 10 days. I hoped nothing would happen during that time. Flags triggering in the background. Amadeus had been shut down and no longer existed. No longer would I hear Kurisu's voice. After I said goodbye to Maho, what that meant really started to sink in. I could still feel Kurisu's warmth in my chest, her smell, All the feelings I'd tried to forget were coming back now that I'd seen her. No one will ever be happy in that world line. Everyone will be miserable. That's what she had said. I knew that. That's why I decided to stay here. That didn't mean I could erase the sense of loss I felt. I went back to the lab, get all this together in my head. The cause of the attack in the last world line was Kagari. And there was a good chance that Amadeus was involved in the world line change that took place afterward. But in this world line, the lab had never been attacked, and the Amadeus project had been cancelled while it was still in the research stage. I'd like to say I'm impressed that they cancelled it in the summer, in the research phase, and by December of the same year, so like 6 months later, they already had basically a working prototype that you could show off at science conventions and seminars. That's a very fast development schedule. That meant that two major factors in the events that had occurred so far no longer existed. If they were gone, maybe there was no need to worry too much. But even so, there was still a tiny alarm going off in the back of my mind. Why had Amadeus been shut down? What happened to Kagari's missing memories? Nothing else. I might need to learn the answers to those two questions. I thought for a while, then took out my phone and booted up the Rhine application. And now we're Kagari? Okay. Apparently we get to be everyone. Thank you for the hydrate. Kagari Sheena felt happier and more fulfilled than the people around her thought she was. Her memories were missing. All she had now were memories of when she was young. She'd gone to the past when she was 10, and gotten separated from Suzuha. Her memories afterward were a total blank, with the exception of the last few weeks. Her oldest memories, after her childhood, were of the ceiling she saw when she woke up. It was the ceiling of an old temple, with stains here and there that looked like faces. She remembered being a little scared. Shortly after that, she was given to Yanabayashi Shrine.
Kagari さん、お茶飲みますか？
あ、うん。ありがとう、ルカ君。
じゃあ入れますね。
That was when she'd met Luca Urushibara. At the time, she hadn't realized that she already knew him. Luca Urushibara, good friend of her adopted mother, Mayuri Sheena. He played with her a lot when they were kids. When she was younger, she always thought he was a woman. To Kagari's young eyes, he'd been a strong, grown-up woman. At the time, she'd always wondered why Suzuha called him Big Brother Luca.
はい、どうぞ。
ありがとう。
But the Luca in front of her was far younger than the one she had known. He looked like a very pretty girl, and not nearly as strong. So, she'd only realized that he was the Luca Urushibara she knew after meeting her mother.
ん？この紅茶、なんだか変わった味がする。
ローズマリーティー。集中力や記憶力が上がるって聞いて、フェイリスさんに分けてもらったんです。
Proving your memory and finding lost memories seemed like totally different things to her, but she didn't say so. Just the thought made her very happy. Luca, Mama Mayuri, and the rest of Okabe's friends were all trying to help her get memories back. It'd probably make most people nervous not having their memories. It would be hard not knowing what you'd experienced. But to be honest, Kagari didn't think she needed to remember. Sometimes it seemed like a memory was about to come back. Each time her mind would roar with a sense of fear and anxiety.
もしかして美味しくなかったですか？
Luca saw that she'd only taken a sip and stopped, and he seemed worried.
そんなことない。美味しいよ。ただ、ちょっと考え事をしてただけ。
考え事？
そう。でも、大したことないんだ。
She took a sip of the tea, hoping to change the subject.
それにしても、 ルカ君って本当に男の子？
Everyone else said he was, but still, just didn't seem right to her.
そうですけど。
やっぱりどう見ても女の子にしか見えないよね。
そんなこと言われても。
そうだねえ、明日一緒にお風呂入ってみる？そうすればルカ君が本当に男の子なのかどうかわかるでしょ？
Please no.
ダメですよ、そんなの。
どうして？
だってそんなの、だって女の人と一緒にお風呂なんて、そんな。
お姉さんとは一緒に入ってなかったの？
入ってましたけど、それは小さい頃の話で。かがりさん。
ごめんごめん、冗談だよ冗談。ルカ君が可愛いからついからかっちゃった。
そんな。
でもそういう反応を見せるってことはやっぱり男の子なんだね。
最初からそうだって言ってるじゃないですか。
Even when he was upset, he still looked like a girl, she thought.
ご覧のようにこちらのお店では数十種類にも及ぶ食べ物が全部食べ放題なんです。
The TV screen had been showing all kinds of delicious food.
すごいなあ。
Sight of it almost moved her to tears.
今の時代ってすごいよね。私の知ってる未来とは大違い。
そうなんですか？未来の世界ってどんな感じなんです？
知りたい？
Luca looked a little uncertain. Even though she'd asked, Kagari wasn't certain she should tell him. The future she knew was filled with despair. Everyone struggled desperately to stay alive, hoping that tomorrow would somehow be better. They knew there was no hope. How would they survive?
やっぱりやめておきます。
Kagari sighed in relief.
その方がいいよ。だって未来は変えられるものだから。
未来は変えられる？
うん。ママがね、そう言ってた。きっと変えられる。変えてくれるって。
変えてくれる。
That's what Mayuri had always told Kagari. That was her tiny light of hope.
なんだっけな。シュタインなんとかって。
シュタインズゲートですか？
そう、それは必ずあるってママは言ってた。って言いながら、それが何なのか私もよくわからないんだけど。
Steins Gate. To be honest, Kagari didn't know exactly what that meant. Each time Mayuri said it, Kagari had felt warmth in her heart. Someone would come to lead them to Steins Gate. Thought about that, it gave her hope.
さて、それでは次の特集です。今、世界で記憶の再生技術に関する研究が進められているのはご存知でしょうか？今日はその最先端を走るあるアメリカの大学の特集です。
The news show had finished its food report and had already switched to another topic. Now it was showing a college campus covered in greenery. It was a wide open space that clearly wasn't Japanese. The second she saw it, she suddenly felt dizzy.
こちらはビクトル・コンドリア大学。一見普通のキャンパスに見えるこの大学。しかし、この学内では今、ある大きなプロジェクトが進められています。
The discussion became more technical. It was far beyond what Kagari, who had only her memories as a child, could understand, but...
チャンネル変えましょうか。
待って。
Kagari stopped him before he could get to the remote.
カガリさん、わかるんですか？
憶を捏造することはできるかっていう話。
へえ、すごいですね。僕には難しくて何が何だか。
She suddenly found herself easily understanding what was being said. Why? How? How could she understand this?
そう、そんなに難しい話じゃないよ。記憶は脳の中の海馬っていうところが司ってるんだけど、その中に視上界って呼ばれるところがあるのね。
Gyrus dentatus. Granule-shaped cells found near the hippocampal gyrus. Anatomy treats them as distinct from the hippocampus, but the field of neurology often uses the term hippocampus to refer to both of them. Recent research has revealed that neurogenesis occurring in the gyrus dentatus plays an important role in forgetting things. So you should just have it removed, then you won't forget things. Problem solved. Also, I'd like to point out that the blue term here, the fascia dentata, is different from what we just looked at. He was surprised at what she was saying, but the words kept coming anyway.
そこで行われる神経細胞の生産が既存の神経回路の再編を引き起こすの。それによって記憶の忘却が誘発されるんだ。で、この研究チームがマウス実験をしてみたら、記憶の捏造が見られたっていう話。あ、ほら、あの奥の部屋、あそこでマウス実験なんかをしてるの。
かがりさん、もしかしてこの大学知ってるんですか？え？
She suddenly realized that Luca was looking confused.
だってなんだか詳しそうな口ぶりでしたし。
The TV was showing something that looked like a lab. The camera went toward the back of the room. The white door was open that led into the next room.
この部屋で行われたマウスを使った実験、それによって研究チームは。
知らない。
でも今。
That's right, she wasn't familiar with it. She didn't know anything about any place like this, but...
わからない。知らない。けど、なんでだろう。さっきは知ってるような気がしたの。
There was suddenly a piercing pain in the back of her head. It felt like the beginning of something terrifying. She suddenly felt very nervous. Oh, I guess she's dead now, because we're back to Okabe. It's also the next day now, it's now the 3rd of January.
感謝します。
This morning I'd gone to Tenoji and asked him to protect Kagari if something happened. That meant I had to talk to him about his role as arounder again. I had to tell him that Kagari was caught up in something big too. But since this was the second time I had that conversation, I was able to make it go a little smoother. That was only relative to the first time though. I never wanted to ask him for anything like this ever again.
Okabe, おめえら一体何に関わってやがる？
それは。
I stopped myself.
話せねえってか。頼み事するだけして随分と虫のいい話だな。
すみません。
だがそれでいい。
え？
情報ってのは最後の切り札だ。そこでペラペラ喋っちまうようなら俺は降りてたぜ。ま、せいぜい気をつけるんだな。
ありがとうございます。
わかったから。そうやってかしこまんな。どうにもやりにくくてしょうがねえ。
Bowed to him once more anyway, and left the Brawn workshop. I managed to get Tenochi's help. This morning I got another person on my side as well, Moeka Kiryu. It was a lot easier than Tenoji. I checked with Dara last night and found Just like in the old world line, we hired her to find out more about Kagari. Okay, so we did still hire her. Because she did have a wide memory gap. So I guess that makes sense. All I had to do was ask her to keep looking into what Kagari had been doing before she'd come to this town. Now I'd done everything I could in case something happened. All that was left to do was pray that nothing did. I got back to the lab where Lukiko was waiting. He had a very serious look on his face. He said he needed to talk to me. Nope, sorry, I'm on my phone now. Can't talk. Daru, yeah, we haven't seen him. Let's call... No, actually, I don't want to call him.
実はかがりさんの記憶のことで気になることがあって。
かがりの？
とは言ってもこれが記憶を取り戻すことにつ
I
な
love
が
how
る
no
か
one
どうか。
questions our memories, even though, like, every other, like, month we're like, well, tell me everything that happened, like, the past 3 days again, and, like, how we met, and, like, all that. But no, we're perfectly fine.
構わない。気になることがあるなら話してくれ。
はい。
Lucas started to fidget and rub his knees together. Then he looked up at me and slowly opened his
ゆ
mouth.
うべテレビで記憶の研究についての特集をやっていて、アメリカの大学で行われているものだったんですけど、それを見ていたかがりさんがまるでその学校を知っているような口ぶりだったんです。
アメリカの大学？どこの大学だ？
なんだか難しい名前の学校で、確かビクトル・コンドル？
ビクトル・コンドリア大学か？
あ、そうです。その学校です。
Chandria University. That was where Kurisu had studied. Kagari knew Victor Chandria? If that was true, then how? The most obvious possibility was that she went there too. How would a kid who went missing in Japan go to an American school? One of the best at that. Of course, it wasn't impossible, but...
どうでしょう。何か手がかりになりそうでしょうか。
さすがにそれだけじゃ何とも言えないが。
No worries, Samuses. Stay safe. I hope you get some yummy food.
そうですか。
Lukiko's shoulders slumped in
で
disappointment.
も手がかりにならないというわけじゃない。
それじゃあ。
ああ、確かめてみる必要はあるな。
改まってお話って何かな？
Best way to find out was to talk to her directly. Kagari was just about to start work, and she seemed put off by the fact that I'd suddenly asked to speak to
話
her.
はちょっと待ってくれるか？もう一人呼んであるんだ。
もう一人？
I didn't know a lot about Victor Chandria myself. I could ask Kagari what she knew about the school, but I couldn't tell if her information was accurate or not. There was a better person she could ask. Someone who should be here any minute.
お邪魔します。
Best way to find out about the school is to ask someone who actually went there. In fact, Maho was to this day a part of their brain science lab.
あ、真帆さん、こんにちは。はい、元気？
Maho still didn't know that Kagari was from the future. I'd have to keep her from finding out.
それにしても本当にクリスに似てるわよね。
Maho stared at Kagari, then whispered so that only I could hear. It made sense. I'd been surprised myself. I started by explaining to Maho why I'd brought her here.
じゃあ何？つまり彼女がうちの学校にいたかもしれないっていうの？ちょっと待って、そんなこと言われても私、なんとかトルコドリア大学なんて知らないよ。ビクトル・コンドリア大学。ほらね、名前だってちゃんと覚えてないんだもん。
でも昨日は知っている様子だったんだろルカ子。
はい。奥にある部屋でネズミさんを使った実験を行っているって。そしたらその後本当にその部屋での実験の様子が映って。
かがりはそのことは？
覚えてない。
I couldn't imagine Lukiko would lie, or that there would be any point to him doing so. But the same was true for Kagari,
漆
too.
原さん、その研究室どこだったかわかる？
詳しくはわからないんですけど、脳とか記憶とかそんな研究をしているって言ってました。
ということは、もしかすると脳科学研究所かもしれないわね。
Brain Science Lab. That was where...
私が所属しているところよ。
Also where Kurisu worked, too.
それじゃあ、もしかしたらかがりはヒアジョーさんやクリスと会っていたかもしれないということか。
あくまでも家庭の話よ。脳科学を研究しているところは一つじゃないし、私のいるところだって陰性だけじゃなく一般の研究者もたくさん出入りしてるもの。私だって研究所にいる人間全員と顔を合わせたわけじゃないわ。ただ同じ日本人となると見かければ記憶には残っているでしょうね。
Which meant that she didn't remember it, which meant that she probably hadn't met her.
ルカ子、他にかがりのことで気になったことはないか？
かがりさん、時々びっくりするくらい難しいことを知っていたり。
私だって難しいことくらい知ってるもん。
Kagari pouted. That was one expression that was totally different than Kurisu's.
例えばバラとか憂鬱とか。
Those were just words that were complicated to write in
昨日は
Japanese.
テレビで記憶の捏造について放送していたんですけど、それもなんだか詳しそうでした。
記憶の捏造ね。確かにその研究をしているチームもいるわ。私たちも一度話を聞かせてもらいに行ったもの。
かがり、今その話はできるのか？
それがよくわからないの。私、本当にそんなことを話してた？
話してましたよ。
Put her hand between her eyebrows and thought. She really didn't remember, it seemed.
今までにこういうことはよくあったのか？
最近まではそれほど。この何日かで急に。
I didn't know how Kagari could know things about Victor Condrey, but it clearly had something to do with their missing memories. If I followed the trail a little longer, I might learn some clues. If possible, I might be able to bring back her memories. She suddenly started to moan in
かがり
pain.
さん、どうしたんですか？
ちょっと頭が。
痛いんですか？
Lukiko was looking at her face, worried.
ちょっぴり。
少し横になるか？
大丈夫。
少し話をせかせすぎたかもしれないな。
そうね。負担が大きかったのかもしれないわね。
Maho was looking worried
本当
too.
に平気？大丈夫です。ありがとう、先輩。だったらいいのだけど。
Conversation was so natural that Maho and I almost missed it.
おい、今。
先輩って。
かがり、君今確かに先輩って呼んだよな。ヒアジョーさんのこと。
嘘。私そんなこと。いいえ、間違いなく言ったわ。漆原さん、あなたも聞いていたわよね。
はい。
Senpai, the Japanese word used to address an older classmate or colleague. I just learned that Maho and Kagari hadn't met at Victor Condria. Does that mean it was just a mistake? Sound of footsteps coming up the stairs distracted me. They were so heavy, there's no need to wonder who it was.
おつー。
お邪魔してます。
おう、魔法タンも来てたん？
その呼び方はやめて。
足りるかな？ひふみ。
He ignored Maho's complaint and started to count the number of people in the room. There was some kind of paper bag in his
よ
hand.
かった。大丈夫みたい。
何が大丈夫なんだ？
ほら、この前駅前にできたアトルあるでしょ？あそこに美味しそうなプリン売っててさ、たまにはと思って買ってきたんだけど、人数分あるかなって。
Put down the bag, opened the box, and started putting the pudding cups on the
な
table.
る。後にしろ。
何みんな難しい顔して。僕がこんなん買ってくるのそんな珍しい？まあ確かにその通りだけど、ちょうどバイトで結構な臨時収入が入ったんだよね。仕事ができる上に気配りと収入を持ち合わせている僕に惚れてもいいの？あれ？
Turned the bag over and started
スプ
shaking
ー
it.
ンが一人分足りない。さては店員のお姉さん、入れ忘れたな。
使ってないスプーンなら確か流しのところに。
あ、私マイスプーン持ってるから。
Lukiko stood up to get a spoon from the sink, then suddenly stopped. He looked at Kagari with a confused expression.
かがりさん、マイスプーンなんて持ってましたっけ？
え？
かがりさんが持ってたのってウーパのキーホルダーだけだったような。
あれ？そうだよね。おかしいな。なんで私持ってるなんて。
Her own spoon. I'd heard someone say that before. Not many people carried their own spoons around. It was common in Japan to carry around your own personal set of chopsticks lately, but not spoons. But I knew. I had known someone who carried around her own spoon. It was Kurisu Makise. Just a moment ago, she'd called Maho senpai. Did Kagari know Kurisu after all?
なあ、ヒヤジョさん。向こうで君のことを先輩と呼ぶ人間は何人いた？
一人だけよ。先輩とか後輩とか、そういう呼び方とか関係は日本独特のものだから。
There's no need to even ask who it was.
私を先輩と呼んでたのはクリスだけ。
クリス。
カガリ、君はマキセ・クリスのことを知ってるのか？
クリス。マキセ・クリス。
Did she know her? Was she imitating her? Why would she need to do
マキ
that?
セ・クリス。
Kagari seemed to be desperately searching her memories, but it didn't seem to be working. There was sweat on her forehead. Her headache might still be
無
bothering
理
her.
はしなくていい。急いで思い出す必要は。
うん。このままにしとくのもなんだか気持ち悪い。
何か思い出せそうなんですか？
わかんない。わかんないから、オカリンさん、何か話して。
一体何が何なん？
Just eat your pudding, Daru. No one cares. The fact that Kagari responded this strongly to Kurisu's name meant there had to be some relationship. What could there possibly be? The question was this: what had Kagari been doing ever since she separated from Suzuha in 1998? She never met Maho. Did she ever meet Kurisu? Maybe she became friends with Kurisu and learned a lot about her. Then she'd gotten Kurisu's stories mixed up with her own memories? Or... I remembered the machine that Kurisu had developed in the Alpha World line came up with a certain hypothesis. I quickly told myself that it was impossible. My eyes met Maho's. She nodded.
カガリ、じゃあいくつか質問させてくれ。
You're never gonna make it to work, my friend. You're always gonna be late. For now, I want to learn how much Kagari knew about
君の
Kurisu.
父親はどこにいる？
パパは死んじゃった。子供の頃に。
Her memories were mixed with Kurisu's. She wouldn't say that. Those were Kagari's memories. She said she remembered everything from before she was 10 years old. She'd only lost her memories after she'd separated from Suzuha in 1998. I'd have to go a little
それじゃ
deeper.
あ栗ご飯と言ったら何を思い浮かべる？
栗ご飯？何なの？
答えてくれ、かがり。
栗ご飯。カメハメハ。
Everyone else seemed confused, but I felt as if my heart was about to stop. How could she know? Gohan and Kamehameha was Kurisu's @channel handle. Not only did she keep that a secret, she almost never let anyone know that she posted on @channel. Never would have told anyone. How could Kagari know something that only Kurisu should know? More sweat was pouring down Kagari's forehead. Luca offered her a handkerchief, worried. Hope it's not the one you're gonna give to your dad. Kagari nodded and took it.
タイムトラベルの主な理論がいくつあるか知っているか？
Maho looked like she wanted to say something, but I motioned for her to stay quiet.
11。
Kagari spoke clearly, as if the answer was the most obvious thing in the
全部
world.
で11。あれ？違ったかな？
I hadn't expected much when I asked the question. I certainly hadn't expected that. The terrifying possibility I'd thought of earlier was becoming more and more real. It was impossible, it had to be. The more I tried to convince myself, the more my fears grew.
11の理論を具体的に説明できるか？
中性子星理論、それからブラックホール理論に高速理論、多気温理論、ワームホール理論、エキゾチック物質理論。
Kagari was counting with her fingers and speaking with very little
宇宙
hesitation.
紐理論、量子重力理論、セシウムレーザー光理論、素粒子リングレーザー理論、最後にディラック反粒子理論。全部合ってる。
Maho's voice was hoarse.
ねえ、岡部さん、私どうしてそんなこと知ってるんだろう。
Kagari looked like she was about to cry a
もう
little.
一つ聞くが、それらの理論を用いてタイムマシンは作れると思うか？
できないと思う。
ほう。
でもこの11の理論では作れないけど、今後の科学の発展次第ではできなくもないじゃないかな。
どうしてそう思う？
どうして？それはどうしてだろう。
じゃあ質問を変えよう。その考え方に行き着いたのはなぜだ？
わかんないけど、ただなんとなく知ってたような。
She knew, huh? That meant the knowledge existed inside of her. But why did she have that knowledge? Had she been to Victorchondria at some time in the past, met Kurisu there? Maybe they were close friends? So close that Kurisu would share her @channel nickname, which she never told anyone? Then perhaps she mistook what she'd heard from Kurisu for her own memories? That was the most obvious possibility. But that would go against what Kurisu had said. Kurisu said she didn't really have any close friends in America. She seemed to have developed a solid relationship with Maho at work, but the dark fear in my mind kept growing.
なあ、ヒアジョーさん。アマデウスは凍結されたと言っていたが、アップロードされていたクリスの記憶データってまだ存在するのか？
ええ、多分破棄はされていないはずだけど。
それってどれだけの人間がアクセスできたんだ？
ごく限られた人間だけよ。どこにも公表はしていなかったから。私やレスキネン教授、他に助手が何人か、そしてクリス。
ちなみにその記憶データを人間の脳に移植することって可能だったりするよな。
は？
The otherworld line, Maho herself, or Dr. Leskinen to be precise, had said something about that at the ATF seminar, and I had experienced it myself. Through a machine that digitized human memories, sent them through time, and then back to the same person's brain. It didn't exist in this world line, but I'd once lived in a world line where it was developed in this very room. I'd used it far more times than I had ever wanted to. Because of that experience, I came up with an idea. Terrifying idea. Now the way to explain what was happening to Kagari now.
一体何よ。
マイスプーンを持ち歩いていたのはクリスなんだ。大学でヒヤジョーさんのことを先輩って呼んでいたのもクリスだけだ。栗ご飯とカメハメハはクリスがアットチャンネルで使っていたコテハンだ。
We already talked about handles, but we're just okay. Handle, an online nickname. It's rare for people to use online nicknames on boards like @channel. If the user does not pick a nickname, it will simply be displayed as anonymous.
知っているのは本人以外だと俺くらいのはずだ。クリスならビクトル・コンドリア大学の研究室のことも知ってる。マウス実験のことも知ってる。11のタイムマシン理論についても知ってる。
オカリンさん、どういうこと？
何が言いたいの？
俺の思いついた仮説だ。
I looked around the room at everyone, then back at
カガ
Kagari.
リ、もしかしたら君の頭の中にはマキセ・クリスの記憶が移植されているかもしれない。
カガリの頭の中にマキセ・クリスの記憶が入ってる。
Suzuha didn't seem as surprised as I had expected. Maho and I asked her some more questions after that. About Victor Chondria, about her research, and her answers were all over the place. Some things she knew and some things she didn't. Some of the things she knew were things that only Maho and Kurisu would have known. In the end, instead of being overturned, my hypothesis came out even stronger. All the questions seemed to tire Kagari out. With Tenoji's permission, Lukiko took her home. Maho completely refused to accept what I was saying, but did say before she left that she'd look into whether it was possible to transfer Amadeus' memory into a human brain. And that night, I explained the situation to Suzuha.
それってカガリが二重人格ってこと？
いや、そうじゃない。二重人格っていうのは正確には乖離性同一性障害といって、誰かの中に別の人格ができることだ。言うなれば今の自分に対する不満や不安から自らの中に別の人格を作ってしまうようなものだな。
Once in a while, there would be a case where someone would take the personality of the man or woman they admired. Usually, it was a completely original
でも
one.
カガリの場合は違う。カガリの中にあるのは人格じゃない。文字通りマキセ・クリスの記憶だけだ。クリスの記憶だけが彼女の頭の中に混在していると考えられる。
Kagari's memories weren't overwritten. She still had them. So they had mixed together.
なるほど。2036年の技術ではそれは決して不可能な話じゃない。
じゃあ2036年からのタイムトラベラーであるカガリなら十分その可能性はあるということか。
でもさ、カガリタンは10歳より前の記憶はあるわけっしょ。他人の記憶をぶち込まれるなんてことされたらその時のことを覚えてるはずじゃね。
あの子は幼い頃、たまに神様の声が聞こえるって言っていたような気がする。
幻聴か。それがクリスの記憶からにじみ出てきたものっていうのは考えられる。
ただ未来はこの時代ほどのどかじゃなかった。物資も人も足りてなかったんだ。記憶を移植するなんていう技術は実用化されているとしても軍の機密扱いだよ。一般人の、しかも子供に使ったとは思えないな。
カガリは繊細孤児だった。 PTSD を治療するためにそういう技術が使われたということは。
PTSD, Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, from the 4th edition of the DSM-IV, the American Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, published in 1994. Caused by severe shock from experiencing an accident, disaster, crime, or other seriously traumatic event. This mental disorder causes any number of stress-related issues. Symptoms include psychological instability, insomnia, confusion, memory trouble, and other problems that last for over a month. Well over a month, in many cases, often into years, actually.
だからって他人の記憶を移植するのはさすがに変だ。
だな。となると記憶のない時期、1998年以降にその移植が行われた可能性が高くなってくるが、
2036年なら可能でもさ、今の技術でできるもんなん？
クリスなら可能だろう。
She'd done it all by herself to make the time leap machine, after all.
マキセ・クリスがカガリに自分の記憶を移植したって？彼女はそんなマッドサイエンティストみたいなことをする人だったの？
There was no way. It was impossible. It had to be. There weren't many people as smart as Kurisu Makise. She didn't do it. I couldn't imagine anyone else would.
そうだよな。突飛な発想すぎるよな。俺だってそう思う。
I might have been getting too attached to my own idea.
でもクリスしか知り得ないことをカガリが知っているのは間違いないんだ。
例えば幽霊になったマキセ氏の魂がカガリタンに乗り移った的なことだったりして。
お前そんなオカルト話をヒアジョーさんの前ででも披露してみろ。全力で論破されるぞ。
ですよね。
In the end, I realized there was nothing I could do for Kagari. Watch for a while to see how things went. We were just students without any kind of specialized knowledge. No matter how much we debated or what ideas we came up with, we wouldn't be able to find the answer easily.
そういえばダル、ユキさんはどうしてる？
天音氏なら毎日バイト忙しいみたいだよ。
彼女は何のバイトをしているんだった？
ケーキ屋さんって聞いてる。美味しいから一度食べに来てって言われた。
そうそう。でもちょっと遠いんだよね。
だからこそ言ったら喜ばれるんじゃないか。しっかりしてよ、父さん。
あ、はい、さあせん。
My bad, often used as part of the phrase lol, my bad, lol. Well, theoretically an apology, it's more often used to provoke or annoy someone. Sounds like Daru.
つうかオカリン、なんでいきなりそんなこと聞くん？
いや、ちょっと気になってな。
The girl in the motorcycle suit. Could that have been Yuki Amane? I still hadn't convinced myself it wasn't her. If it was, maybe involved in some way with what was happening to Kagari. That attack only took place in the otherworld line. It hadn't happened in this one, so I had no way to tell.
もし彼女のことで何か。
ん？
母さんがどうかしたの？
いや、なんでもない。
Still didn't have any proof. I just have to keep an eye on her. My priority right now is Kagari. What had happened during the time when she'd lost her memories? If I could find that out, I might be able to understand what was about to happen to us. A very ominous statement.
それじゃあ始めるわよ。
Now a couple days passed. We're now on the 4th of January. Maho came to the lab again the next day. He was there to look at Kagari's memories. Kagari had volunteered to work with her. As of yesterday, my hypothesis was still just a hypothesis. Any time she saw a hypothesis, she wanted to test it. Maybe that's just how scientists
まず
work.
はこれを見てもらえる？
Maho held up a cell phone. There was a picture displayed on its screen. It was a corridor with white walls and clean white floors, and two people wearing white lab coats were walking
これ
down
が
it.
どこだかわかる？
学校？
どこの？
ビクトル・コンドリア大学の。
この手前に歩いてる人、彼の名前は？
トニー・ブラウン。あだ名は JB。興奮すると独特のステップを踏むから。
じゃあこっちの彼女は？
わかんない。
どうだ？
彼女も私たち研究者の間ではかなり有名な子よ。クリスだって当然知ってるはずだわ。
仮にカガリがクリスの記憶を持っているとしても、完全に全てを思い出せているわけじゃないみたいだ。
That's how it had seemed yesterday,
記
too.
憶として呼び起こされるものと、そうじゃないものがあるんじゃないのか。
だからってこの程度じゃまだクリスの記憶だと断言はできないわ。彼らのことくらい調べれば誰だってわかることだもの。かがりさん、もう少し突っ込んだ質問をしてもいい？去年の冬、私とクリスで映画を見に行ったことがあるの。
ヒアジョーさんとクリスが？
意外？私たちだってたまには息抜きをする。普段は研究ばかりだけど。
It was surprising, actually. I hadn't thought they'd interacted outside of work.
研究でちょっと詰まってた私をあの子が連れ出してくれたのよ。たまたまチケットが2枚あるからって。
That's just like how a man asks a girl on a date. She never was any good with that stuff.
その時に見た映画のタイトルわかるかしら？
ボブ・ワイナー監督の彼と彼女の予感？
Maho gulped. That must have been the right
それっ
answer.
て最近の映画か？聞いたことないが。
20年前の作品、そのリバイバル上映だったのよ。
Kagari had guessed it. He'd known the title of a movie that Kurisu and Maho had gone to see together in private. And since it wasn't a major worldwide release, it wasn't something you could get with a lucky guess.
でもそれも誰か目撃していた人がいればわかることよ。
だが、君が今日そんな質問をするということは予想できなかったはずだ。カガリがそのために細かい情報まで全て暗記したとでも？
It would be impossible, and she didn't have a reason to bother anyway.
私だってそのくらいのことわかってるわ。
I could tell from the pained expression on her face that Maho was struggling with something. I was starting to realize what it was. She didn't want to admit it. She didn't want to admit it was possible. It was winter, but Kagari's forehead was dripping with sweat again. Going through her confused memories must have been putting on a lot of stress on her.
これぐらいにしよう。カガリがきつそうだ。
待って、最後にもう一つだけ聞かせて。
いいよ、どうぞ。
Kagari nodded and motioned for her to go
子
ahead.
供の頃、あなたが一番大切にしていたものは何？
子供の頃。
それはアメリカに移住してからもずっと部屋に置いてあった
イルカのぬいぐるみ。水族館に行った時、パパが買ってくれた。
Maho sighed and sunk onto the sofa.
合ってるのか？
ええ。昨日クリスのお母さんが電話で教えてくれたわ。このことを知ってるのはクリスとご両親だけ。
それじゃあ
悔しいけどあなたの仮説を否定できない。
そうか。
私どうなっちゃうのかな。
I didn't have an answer. I didn't even know how this had happened in the first place. The only possibility I could think of was...
かがりさん、付き合わせて悪かったわね。ゆっくり休んで。
Maho stood up with a serious expression on her face.
帰るのか？
ええ。自分なりにまだ検証できることは残っていそうだから。それじゃあ、また。
Maho got up and went for the door without bothering to look back. She seemed to be silently shutting out the entire world. All we could do was watch her go. And, well, except toward now Maho. Maho Yajo sat at her computer monitor in a daze. The rest of the world was still feeling the afterglow of New Year's excitement. The last time she'd come to Japan, it was still in the heat of summer. She'd used her vacation days to come then. Her co-worker, Kurisu Makise, had suddenly died. She wanted to see the place where she was murdered herself. Maho's feelings for Kurisu Makise were complicated. Till Kurisu had come to her lab, Maho had thought herself a genius. She'd graduated high school after skipping grades and joined a university lab while still in her teens. It's understandable that she'd feel that way. Everyone else said she was a genius too. But her pride was shattered into tiny little pieces by the arrival of Kurisu Makise. Kurisu Makise was the real thing. Maho didn't even come close to her. She had realized that she could never be as smart as Kurisu. She realized that she didn't want to be beaten by her anyway. It would have been so much easier if she could have hated her. It would have been so much easier to hate Kurisu. Kurisu Makise wouldn't even allow her that much. She was a dedicated scientist, and that dedication carried over to her treatment of Maho too.
先輩のその研究、うまくいけば革命的な成果が得られると思います。私に何かできることがあれば手伝いますから、言ってくださいね。
Someday, she swore she'd surpass her. Someday, she swore she'd make Kurisu say that she was the smarter one. But now, that would never happen. Kurisu Makise went on a trip and never came back. Maho had been told she'd been attacked by a robber and killed, but it didn't seem real. It felt like she'd come back to the lab any day now and start arguing with the professors with that same self-satisfied smirk on her face. Until then, Maho would work on the Amadeus project so that when Kurisu came back, she would be amazed. Amadeus, an artificial intelligence that could be loaded with an individual's memories. It was possible to digitize memories by analyzing the nerve signals relating to the memories stored in the temporal lobe. It had been Kurisu, of course, who'd proved it. Then Maho and her team had turned that proof into usable technology. By the time Kurisu got back, she would have had it all ready for the next level. She'd show it to Kurisu and astonish her. But even that hope didn't last long. She was suddenly told that the project was cancelled. Of course, she couldn't accept it. No matter what she said, no matter how many times she argued with the professors, she couldn't get the cancellation overturned. Amadeus went to sleep at the bottom of the lab server, along with Kurisu Makise's digitized memories. Kurisu Makise's memories. Now they were in the head of another girl. How had that happened? There was only one possibility, if it was possible at all. Just like Rintaro Kabe had said.
Oh yeah.
He'd opened the door, and a large man she knew very well came inside.
Maho, どうしたんだい?
I'd also like to point out the gas leak never happened in this world line, so they're still at their original laboratory, and not at the Tokyo Denkai University lab.
そういう教授こそわざわざ休みの日に出てきてるじゃないですか。
Maho's mentor, Dr. Leston, was here in Japan for a month-long conference on artificial intelligence. Maho had come with him as his assistant, but the conference didn't take place every day. They spent time between sessions at the Japanese office, making presentation materials and exchanging emails.
私の場合、休みといっても特にすることもないからね。ホテルにこもっていても息が詰まるだけだし、それならここに来て仕事をしていた方がいい。
だったら私も似たようなものです。
For a researcher, doing research was a hobby. Nothing else. All scientists Maho knew were like that. Of course she'd come here today because she'd assumed Dr. Leskinen would feel that way.
君にはいろいろとやることがあるだろう。例えば、デートとか。
教授、あんまりしつこいとセクハラで訴えますよ。
おっと、それだけは勘弁してくれ。
Dr. Leskinen slumped his shoulders in a very unique way that Caucasians always overreacted. He seemed intent on bringing Maho and Okabe together. He and Okabe were both friends of Kurisu, so they talked a lot. There was nothing more to it than that. At least, that's what she thought. Probably.
それじゃあ、お詫びというわけじゃないですが、一つ聞いてもいいですか？
訴訟されないで済むのなら何なりと。
じゃあ聞きますけど、アマデウスは今どうなっているんですか？
どうも何も。今のところ進められる目処が立っていないことは君だってよく知っているはずだよ。
それは分かってます。私が聞きたいのはアマデウスのデータはどうなっているかということです。
研究室のサーバーに保管されているね。
誰かがアクセスしたり持ち出したりは？
Leskinen's eyes narrowed, and he slowly shook his head.
マホ、君がなぜそんな疑問を持ったのか私にはわからないが、エムデウスへのアクセス権はごく限られた一部の人間にしかないし、不正にアクセスされたという事案も起こってはいないはずだ。少なくとも今まで私のところにそのような報告はもたらされていない。
私やクリスの記憶データも？
もちろん。
それじゃあ他に私が知らない人工知能のプロジェクトが動いているなんてこともありませんか？
あるわけがない。我々の研究チームにはマホ、君の力が必要不可欠だ。私たちはクリスという才能を失った。それは大いなる損失だったが、彼女のいなくなった穴を埋められるのは君だけだと思っている。そんな君の知らないところで新たなプロジェクトなどを進めるはずがないだろう。
そうですか。
Compliment felt a bit too much for her to take at face value. There were a lot of scientists who were always looking to get a leg up on the competition. Someone else got the glory first. Everything you worked on until that point would be useless. Even in the same team, there were only a few people you could really trust. But to Maho, Dr. Leskinen was one of those people.
質問に対する答えはこれでいいかな？
はい。
では、私からの質問もいいかい？どうして急にそんなことを聞くんだい？
それは
もしかして自分の秘密が誰かに漏れていないか心配にでもなったのかな？
まあそんなところです。
それなら心配ない。いかにエメデウスとはいえ本人が秘密にしたいことは喋らないようにできている。君だって知っているはずだよ。それは保存されたデータについても言える。仮に何者かがデータを盗んだところで本人がどうしても知られたくない部分はブラックボックスになっている。エムデウスからはもちろん記憶データからも取り出すことは不可能だ。秘密が漏れるとしたらその記憶を持つ生身の人間からだけだね。
記憶を持つ生身の人間。
そう、つまり本人だけということだ。どうだい？少しは安心したかい？
ええ、まあ。
It wasn't that she didn't trust Dr. Leskinen, but she couldn't relax until she'd seen for herself, and no one had taken the data. Maho only thought it was possible to believe something after you'd seen it yourself. That's how she thought a scientist should be. But right now, she didn't have the access rights to do so. In the end, she was stuck with her doubts. Knew this was gonna happen, but she couldn't stop herself from asking anyway.
あら、二人ともいたのね。
Dr. Reyes walked through the door just as she finished her conversation with the professor.
まったく、せっかくのホリデーだというのに、物好きね。
レイエス教授こそ。
私はホテルにいてもやることなんてないから。
Mao exchanged a glance with Dr. Luskin and then shrugged. That's just how scientists were.
なになに？なんなのよ。
なんでもないです。
She and Dr. Luskin laughed at Reyes' confusion. The doubt in her mind lingered. Now we're back to Okabe. It's also now the 6th. I think we jumped ahead 2 days. Kurisu's memories were inside Kagari's head. Several days had passed since I'd begun to suspect my hypothesis was correct.
ごめんなさい。オカリンさんにはいろいろ迷惑かけちゃって。
別に迷惑だなんて思ってない。それに俺なんかよりもルカ子やマユリの方がいろいろと気を配ってくれてるはずだ。
In fact, Mayuri and Lukiko were doing a very good job of taking care of her. Mayuri may not have realized it, but Kagari looked up to her as a mother figure. After living under the same roof for so long, Lukiko had come to care for her a lot.
そんな、僕なんてただ話し相手になるくらいで。
マユシーこそ何の役にも立ってあげられなくてごめんね。そんなことないよ。ルカ君はすごくよくしてくれてるし、ママはいてくれるだけで嬉しいし。
Mayuri fidgeted in embarrassment when she heard the word mommy. I'd understand why. It must feel strange to be called mommy at her age, especially by someone who is older than she was.
ねえママ、なに？ギュッてしていい？ギュ？子供の頃にママがよくやってくれたみたいにギュッてしてもいい？わわ、照れちゃうな。ダメ？いいよ。
Mayuri smiled and nodded, and Kagari gave her a big hug with a huge grin on her face.
かがりちゃん、いい子いい子。
Mayuri never asked for details, but she seemed to sense what was happening to Kagari. She probably understood that this was the best thing she could do right now.
ママ、
It was strange. Kagari was a lot older. When they were like this, they really did look like mother and child.
ありがとう、ママ。
Kagari slowly moved away from Mayuri. She looked a lot calmer than she had a moment ago. It was probably okay to talk to her now.
それでカガリ、調子はどうだ？
調子か。なんだかよくわからないかな。
よくわからないとは？
ふとした瞬間に思い出すことがあるんだけど、それが自分のものなのかクリスさんのものなのかわかんないの。難しい数式とか実験とか理解はできてないんだけど知ってるみたいな。
Kagari's only memories were of her time as a child, and the time since Lukiko's father's friend had found her. Friend. Kurisu's memories would appear sometimes and fill the gap in between. I couldn't even imagine how that must have felt.
この前もね、パパのことを思い出したの。子供の頃、パパに褒められた時の記憶。それを思い出して、なんだかすごく嬉しかったんだけどね。でも私、赤ちゃんの頃に両親死んじゃったし、それからは まゆりママに育ててもらったからパパなんて知らないんだよね。だけど自分が経験したことじゃないのに褒められて嬉しいっていう感情は確かにあって、そう考えてると頭の中がごちゃってなっちゃって。
Kagari grimaced and held her head in her hands. First time I'd met her, I'd been surprised by how much she looked like Kurisu. Talking to her like this, I realized how different she was. The way her expression was constantly changing, the way she always slightly overreacted, actually more like Mayuri. Is that because they were mother and child?
クリスの記憶はよく出てくるのか？
うん、前に比べると頻繁になったかも。
そうか。
ねえオカリ、かがりちゃんどうなっちゃうのかな。
本来ならちゃんとした専門機関で検査してもらうのが一番いいんだろうが。
But given her position, it wasn't that easy.
あんまり検査はしたくないな。子供の頃もね、検査ばっかりしてたから。
そうなのか？
うん。PTSD を治すためだって言って。
So she didn't seem eager to be looked at either, huh? More of Kurisu's memories woke up. What would happen to her? Would she be Kagari Shina with the memories of Kurisu Makise? Or would she become Kurisu Makise? A person's personality was more than just a sum of their memories. Memories were an important part of it. When she had Kurisu's memories, what would happen to her? At this point, no one knew. It was quite possible that up until now, no one had ever shared a person's memories before.
あ、まゆりちゃん、時間。あ、ほんとだ。ねえオカリン、この後かがりちゃんのこと任せていいかな。これから学校で進路についての説明会があるんだ。マユシーたちどうしても出なくちゃいけなくて。すみません。
謝るなって。心配しなくていい。かがりはちゃんと家まで送っていくから。
ありがとうございます。それじゃあかがりちゃん、また明日ね。
うん、ママ、また明日。
Once Mayuri and Lukiko were gone, it was just me and Kagari in the room. After the problems with Kagari's memory started coming up, I've been having her hold off on her job at the Brawn Tube workshop. I was still having her come here as much as possible during the day in case something happened. Suzuha and Tenoji were downstairs. That alone made me feel better. I suddenly felt Kagari looking at me.
改めて考えると、こうしてオカリンさんと話してるっていうのが不思議だなって。
不思議？どうして？
だって私にとってのオカリンさんはお話の中の人だったんだもん。
お話の中？
うん。ダルおじさんやママから聞くお話の中の人。
That's right. According to Suzuha, I was going to die in 2025. It meant that in Kagari's time, I was no longer
ママは
alive.
ね、いっつもオカリンさんの話をしてたよ。オカリンがママを助けてくれた。オカリンがママの彦星様なんだよって。
あいつ、未来になってもそんなことを言っているのか。
Now it was my turn to be
だから
embarrassed.
ね、私もずーっと気になってたんだ。ママがそんなに大切に思ってるオカリンさんってどんな人なんだろうって。みんなが話題にする岡部倫太郎っていう人がどんな人なんだろうって。もしかしたらちょっと憧れてたかも。
からかうのはよしてくれ。
オカリンさんたら照れちゃってる。
Kagari clearly had the upper hand here.
でもそういう意味ではマキセ・クリスって人もそうかな。
クリスが？
マキセ・クリスっていう人の名前もママやダルおじさんの口によく上ってたから、ずっと昔に亡くなっちゃったのにそんなに影響のある人ってどんな人だろうって。
そのマユリはクリスのことをなんて？
オカリンさんの大切な人だって。
The person I loved. For me, that was an undeniable truth. That wasn't true for the rest of the lab. This world line, Mayuri had never met Kurisu, and I tried as much as possible to avoid bringing her up. Thanks to me, even in the future, she'd still feel that way.
そうだ。今から買い物に行くんだが、よかったら一緒に来ないか？
買い物？
ああ、まだこの辺りのことをよく知らないだろ？
いいの？
もちろんだ。
After what happened in the last world line, it was probably a good idea to keep her from going outside too much, but she probably needed a change of pace. It was still afternoon. As long as we stuck to busy streets, we'd probably be fine.
やった！実はね、いろいろ欲しいものもあったんだ。
欲しいもの？
日用品とかいろいろね。
ルカ子が用意してくれてるんじゃないのか？
そうだけど、でもほら、ルカ君だって男の子でしょ？だからいろいろ頼んじゃうのも悪いなって。
True, even if he was beautiful, Lukaku was a guy. There were some things he just wouldn't understand.
それじゃあ行くか。
やっぱりすごいよね。
Kagari's eyes were shining as she looked up and down the street.
人も多いし、お店もたくさんあるし、ここがあの秋葉原と同じ街だとは思えないな。
未来の秋葉原はどんなところなんだ？
一言で言うと、そうだな。瓦礫の山かな。まあ、秋葉原に限ったことじゃないんだけどね。
Sousa had said that the Third World War would start soon. It meant that a young Kagari would have only known the world after that horrible war. Of course, that was all my fault. Probably. I did what Suzuha wanted and went back to July 28th. Would the world line change so that the Third World War never happened? Impossible. The world lines were going to converge no matter what I did.
オカリンさん、もしかして自分のせいだなんて思っちゃってる？
I gasped. She read my
そ
mind.
の反応は図星だね。でも、その考えはダメ。バッテンなのだ。私の知る限り、ママもダルおじさんも誰もオカリンさんを責めてなんていなかったよ。だってママたちはみんな信じてたから、オカリンさんならいつかやってくれるって。そのシュタインズゲートだっけ？そこに導いてくれるって。
I knew Kagari was trying to make me feel better. That Mayuri and Daru would probably never blame me. Those words just made it worse. As I'd given up on everything.
わあ、ごめんなさい。別に追い込むつもりとかじゃなかったんだけど。
I must have had a pretty dark look on my
Yeah.
face.
俺の方こそすまない。でも俺はもう。
ストップ。今日はそういうのはなし。せっかく外に出たんだから、もっと楽しい話しよう。ね。
ああ。
Kagari's mind was probably filled with memories of a painful war. Nothing else, those were her only memories as Kagari Sheena. But she was still trying to make me feel better. Even if they weren't related by blood, she really was Mayuri's daughter. Still, it was hard to come up with something that was more fun to talk about.
そうだな。せっかくだから、 ママの若い頃の話を聞きたいな。
まゆりの
若いって言っても今も若いんだけど、でももっと若い頃の話。
Welcome back,
例えば
Samuses.
人質の話とか。
まゆりはそんなことまで君に話しているのか。
私ね、オカリンさんの話をする時のママの顔が大好きなの。
We've skipped several world lines. We're now on world line, what, Oscar? No, we haven't changed at all yet.
そーっと開けるみたいな。
I think
そんな顔
since
って
you...
いうのかな。
I'm kidding. I think since you left for food, basically what you've missed is we've figured out that Kagari has Christina's memories inside of her head. That's basically the gist of what's happened. So Maho and Okabe have been testing her, asking her questions only Kurisu would know. And sometimes she gets it right, sometimes she doesn't. But there's enough there for them to be like, we think someone took the Amadeus memories and implanted it inside of her head. They don't think Kagari is Amadeus, because definitely Suzuha remembers bringing Kagari back from the future. So the working theory is that just before she woke up, someone had taken the Amadeus memory data of Kurisu and implanted it inside of her head. Who that is, why they did it, we don't know.
その顔とその時の声と、それを思い出すだけですっごくあったかい気持ちになれるんだ。
Kagari, Mayuri must have felt like a shining star in a world of darkness and mud. A shining star brighter than anything else in the sky.
別に大した話じゃないさ。大好きなおばあさんが亡くなって、ずっと悲しんでたあいつが今にも消えてしまいそうで、それで口から出た痛々しいセリフだ。
お前は俺の人質だって。
Hearing it from another person made me so embarrassed that I wanted to go hide.
若かったんだ。若さゆえの過ちというやつさ。
それでもその言葉はママを救ってくれたんだよね。
どうだろうな。
Those words meant that I was holding her back, even all the way into the future.
オカリンさん？
そんなことより腹が減らないか？何か食べにでも行こう。
Started walking ahead in an effort to change the subject. Kagari seemed hesitant as she tried to keep
何か
up.
食べたいものあるか？
私は何でもいいかな。
そういうのが一番困るんだ。
だってこの時代の食べ物って何でも美味しいんだもん。びっくりするくらい。
未来じゃ何を食べてたんだ？
お芋とかそういうのばっかりかな。あ、でもママが毎日違う味付けしてくれてたから。
まゆりが？
うん。
まゆりの料理はそのうまかったのか？
What happened? How did we change this?
そうか。
The human animal was capable of growth, it seemed. Well, Yuki had been teaching her a lot lately. Maybe that had paid off.
だから私は何でもいいよ。
Alright then. Let's go to the only place that has food that we have drawn art for.
オカリン、それにカガリニャンも。
I've chosen to stop by May Queen Nian Tiny Rays 2. It was packed.
今日は混んでるな。
そうなのにゃん。 ニメとのタイアップキャンペーンが始まったのにゃ。
Come to think of it, there was a sign up front with some anime characters on it. I'd seen those characters all over
お
town.
かげで大繁盛で満席なのにゃ。30分くらい待ってもらったら入れるようになるんやけど。
そういうことならまた今度にするよ。
Okay, bye,
ゆっくり
Ferris.
できそうな時に出直してくるね。せっかく来てもらったのにごめんにゃ。
Gomenya-sai. Okay, bye, Ferris. No one cares. We left May, Queen Nian, Tiny Rays too. Walked around for a bit, but it was lunchtime and every place we saw was crowded. How dare. The game devs were just like, it's been about a solid 3 to 4 hours since we've seen Ferris. We should probably put her in just for a cameo. It's the same reason Daru pops up every 3 hours. It's so you know he's not dead. And then they're like, okay, bye.
すごいね。どこも人だらけ。
まったくだ。わざわざ外で飯なんか食わずに家で済ませればいいもの。
Daru's not dead, Rach. Yeah, he appeared. He brought pudding cups, and then that was it. That was all he was used for, was to bring in pudding. And the pudding had absolutely zero relevance to the plot.
私たちにも当てはまるよね。
Actually, I guess that's not entirely true, because then they wanted spoons, and Kagari's like, oh, I have my spoon. And then Okabe's like, wait, I know someone who has their own spoon, Christina. And that was one of the triggers. So, Daru himself was not relevant, but spoons were, and I guess he kind of made spoons happen. Gosh, that's a depressing thought. Now then, what to
ラ
do?
ボで食べよっか。
言っとくが、俺は料理なんてできないぞ。
私も。
Then that was out of the
簡
question.
単なものでいいよ。私あれ食べてみたかったんだ。ほら、お湯かけて食べるヌードル的なの。
カップ麺か？あんなものでいいのか？
未来だとね、工場がいっぱいなくなっちゃって、なかなか手に入らなくなっちゃったんだ。ダルおじさんがいつも食べたいって言ってて、ずっと気になってたの。
Can we just get the child actual ramen? Does it have to be instant cup ramen? That's horrible for you. She was okay with that, so was I. Well, apparently we're feeding the child garbage. I had just the thing. Very little money? But a lot of instant noodles at the local convenience store. If there were any left, Daru would probably eat them.
すっごいね。カップ麺ってあんなにいっぱい種類あるんだ。
I have to disagree with you there, Samuses.
今は未来と違って飽食の時代だからな。コンビニなんかでは毎週のように新商品が出る。
そうなんだね。ね、この中のどれを食べてもいいの？
I will say cup noodles are probably the best type of pasta you can make yourself at lunchtime. They are delicious, if not horrible for you. But I would take that over... I think I would take it over mac and cheese most days. Yeah. Are there any other, instant noodles? Yeah. Because, sure, she came here at 10, but she's been living here for, 15 years? But she has no memory of any of that, so for all we know, she ate cup noodles, 3 times a week for the past 15 years and just doesn't remember it. Kagari looked inside the plastic bag I was holding.
好きなのを選んでくれ。
それじゃあどれにしよっかな。
She looked just like a child, the way she put her finger to her lips as her eyes shone.
私これにする。塩味の。
なんなら2つでも3つでも食べてもいいぞ。
Did it say she had a favorite? I mean, I guess they're just talking about flavors in general. Like, I would hope at this point that you know what, like, salt tastes like, or soy sauce, or pork. Yes. Salt, it's sea salt. It's actually, so with ramens, there's two main types. You have salt, and you have soy sauce. Those are the two main ones, and of course, there's other ones, but those are the two main bases. Like, of course, there's other things that you put in it, like it has pork broth, or chicken broth, or beef broth, and so on. I've always preferred salt over soy sauce. It's a much milder flavor. It's a much more... Soy sauce does have more flavor, yes. It just depends what you like. If it's like the same thing with like beer or something. Dark beers definitely have like the most flavor, but that's not my favorite. In fact, I am very much not a dark beer person. Thank you for the hydrate. There's also... There's also other flavors that go into it besides salt and soy sauce. A lot of times you'll have bamboo sprouts, you'll have seaweed, you'll have some type of meat, usually. I guess it would be tofu if you're vegetarian. Pork tonkatsu is another one I like as well. She had so many different expressions that I never got tired of watching them. Yes, here, let me open a notepad and Notepad. Educate Samus's on ramen. There we go.
Ah, これだよ.
Took something plastic out of the bag.
フォークだよ。箸じゃ食べづらいんじゃないかと思って。自分専用のものにしてラボに置いておけばいい。
So for some context, like ramen, you go out for it or used to, I guess, go out for it every now and then. There's a place by me. It's a chain of, I don't know, maybe 3 stores throughout the city. They have, you know, one of those like collector cards for how many bowls of ramen you've consumed, and I can't remember what the maximum was. It was like 200 bowls or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if you had, I don't know, 3 bowls of ramen a week, that's still that's still what, like 60 some odd weeks. I don't want to figure out the exact math on that right now, but mid 60 number of weeks. So you're gonna eat it for a year just to get, I can't even remember what it was. They had different prizes. They had, the one I have up in my bedroom it's just a little pin, and it's their logo, and it's just a pig facing sideways. But there was like, if you get to this much, you got a free appetizer, and then you got a free t-shirt with their company logo, and it kept going way up. I can't believe anyone actually made it to their maximum amount. Kurisu'd always wanted her own fork. I knew this didn't make up for anything. I just wanted to do it.
やったありがとう実はね私お箸使うの苦手なんだママからもいつも注意されててあこれ先っぽにウサギさんがついてるかわいいへへへ私専用のフォーク
The way she goes, eh, 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 is just like Mayuri.
これで2つ目だ
The other thing must have been the keychain that Mayuri gave her.
でもなんでかな私これずっと欲しかったような気がするもしかしてこれもクリスさんの記憶なのかな
さあどうだろうな。
ねえオカリンさんオカリンさんはクリスさんのことを好きだったんでしょ
Well, what do you mean almost choked? You definitely choked at the unexpected change in the direction of the conversation.
大丈
いきなりなんでそうなる？
夫だって大切な人っていうのはそういうことでしょでどうなの好きだったの
She seemed genuinely interested. I guess she was the right age for that.
まああいつとの出会いが
I don't know if I want to ask this question, but the right age physically or mentally?
確かだな。
ああ
Because physically she's 25. Mentally she's like 13?
でも人生を変えるほどの大切な人かなんか憧れるかも
This is why we have a love emote, Samus's. You changed everything, past and future.
オカリンさんから見てマキセ・クリスさんってどんな人だったの
Exactly, Samus's. Exactly.
自分の頭の中にある記憶の持ち主
I
の
want to know about the other person inside my head. Yep.
俺が教えなくてもそれこそ記憶として頭の中にあるんじゃないのか？
それが自分で思い出そうとしても思い出せないんだよね時々断片的に出てくるだけでそれも大抵難しいことばかりだからもっと人間的な部分っていうの
Gosh dang it,
そう
Samus.
いう人となりとか
Hey, if Twitch would give me the follower beta, I can move some emotes around. Kagari had never actually met Kurisu, had she? She was sharing the memories of someone she'd never met. It makes sense if she wanted to know more about her.
あいつはマキセ・クリスはとにかく好奇心の強いやつだったよ。
ふむふむ
That being said, with my understanding of the follower emotes, I wouldn't want to put anything important there, because then you can only use it in this chat, and not other chats, so... I'm not quite sure. I'd have to look at what I'd want to move around, because I did have one other badge I had made that wasn't in an emote, because I just didn't have space for it. So it'd probably just be a food thing.
その上頑固で
I'd probably just bump all the
自分が
food
正しいと思
down
っ
a
たことは
yeah,
誰に何を言われても
I'd have to
決し
take a
て
look
曲げ
at
る
it.
ことはなかった。
Can they? Okay, I mean, yeah, something I would like to see tested, because I haven't actually seen it.
そうなんだ
不遜で強がりでそのくせ寂
I
し
mean,
が
it
り
would
屋
make
で
sense to me for it to do that way. Okay, yeah, if you can double check, that would be great. Like, it makes sense to me if that's the case, that subs can use the follower emotes. But then again, Twitch doesn't always make sense, so... The memories of all the conversations I had with Kurisu, everything I'd gone through with her, came flooding back into my mind. I talked to her here, just like this once before, come to think of it. Not in this world line, though.
怒ると怖かった。
怖い？どんな風に？
解凍して海馬に電極ぶっ刺すなんて物騒なこと言われたりしたよ。
Also, Sam says, if that's a follower emote and you're checking, does that mean I have to scold you for subbing to other channels and spending more money? And then, for some reason, she ran a few steps forward and spun around. And then... Someone gifted you the sub, then? I mean, I have to scold someone. Someone bought the sub. Can I open my phone? Oh, I can't open my phone. I wanted flashback phone opening. Kurisu.
なんてこんな感じ？オカリンさん？
あ、いや。
So, oh, Samus says you can also swing your sword around. Perfect. Memories of Kurisu inside Kagari. They could be perfectly replicated inside Kagari's head. Would Kagari Shina become Kurisu Makise? Thank you, Samuses. It was a stupid idea. So you've got the sub, which you say you didn't buy, but I have no proof. But there's a different follower emote and you don't have it even though you're subbed, is that correct? I know you can, I know. I was just teasing. Personality and memories were two different things. Even so, if... Okay, so... Once again, Twitch doesn't make sense to me, because... That's just dumb. Like, I don't understand it. Like... Because... Me personally, I don't have that many emotes, and I have no plans right now to commission any more. So I wouldn't want to put anything really good there, because I want people to be able to use it wherever. It's just that you are following, to my understanding. What I don't know is... I've seen different people with follower emotes, and some just have like, you know, like 1 or 2, and some have like 6 or 7. I don't know if there's like a progression to unlocking them, similar to with subs. If it's like, oh, you have 100 people following you, you can get 3. If you have 500, you can get 5. Or if it's just that some people didn't have as many art ideas as others, I'm not entirely sure. Her memories turned into Kurisu's completely. If that happened...
オカリンさん。
え?
Kagari wandered back up to me and put her weight against me. It was so sudden I caught my breath. I could feel her warmth on my chest. Feeling of her skin. Remind me of Kurisu. The sound of her pain moan brought me back to reality.
どうした? Kagari? 頭が痛いのか?
How did you break Twitch? I mean, it doesn't take much, but how did you break Twitch? Kagari's body twitched. See what we did there? In my arms. You were able to claim channel points for an offline channel. I do know that if you were watching a channel and you were about to get the little green box thing, you can still claim it on an offline channel. If it would have appeared if you had been there at that point, was the channel live.
どうしたんだ、係。
I love how we have the upside down exclamation point, aka the eye at the end of Kagari. It looks like it's the same thing, but just upside down. Twitch is always broken. Whatever it is, like there's always something with Twitch.
助けてママ。どうして助けてくれないの？ママ。
落ち着け。落ち着くんだ、係。
When was that, Sam? I'm trying to think. 'Cause when did I make my Twitch account? It's probably like... Actually, can I click on my name and will it tell me? I'm just gonna write a test message just so I can quickly click on my thing. When did I make my account? September 2017. Okay. No, I don't want to open my channel, Twitch. That's like the last thing I want to do. Gosh dang it, OBS. Thank you. I'd opened my my user profile to see what was there, but because of like the width of it, it didn't have the X button, so I couldn't click out of it, and it just blocked like the bottom third of chat. Really, affiliates only that young? Interesting. Yeah, cause when I made my account in 2017, so yeah, almost 4 years ago this fall, I only did it because I had thought of the name Popeye Plays and was just claiming it on places, on YouTube, on Twitch, just in the off chance I was going to use it in the future. And then I started streaming very briefly. I think that was in 2018. I did like a couple odd streams, but didn't really get into it. And then 2020 is when I was more consistent. Maybe it was 2019 is when I did the odd streams, and then 2020 is when I had a consistent schedule. Yeah, that makes sense. I grabbed her hands to keep her from struggling anymore. If you were a passerby and there is a girl that says, "Help, save me, get me out of here," and there's a man holding her back, you should call the police. The people on the street were staring at me, but I didn't have time to think about it.
大丈夫。大丈夫だから。
That's interesting, because there was partner but no affiliate. I mean, if you look at Ferris's face sometimes, she is literally the uwu face. I'm convinced that in, what's this, 2010, the summer of 2010, Ferris invented the uwu face in Akihabara. I'm convinced that's what happened. Man, it would have been such a slog to stream till partner. His partner's what? 75 average viewers, 24 hours streamed in a 1 month period. That would be such a slog. I guess people were using, oh crap, what's it called? Patreon, or something similar, before affiliate, because that's a lot of time, a lot of effort to commit. And the other reason why is if more people are affiliates, more people can do bits and subs, which Twitch gets a cut of. So right there, like, I'm not sure what percentage of Twitch streamers are partner. It's probably like a very small percent, like, I don't know, like 2%. Don't quote me on that. Something like that. And then affiliate is probably... Gosh dang it, internet. Okay. Internet's back. Okay. Damuses, if you can see this, let me know. You can smell my fear. I mean, that's a lot of stream deaths. That is a large number of stream deaths. Yeah, my internet just straight cut out for like a solid 40 seconds. But yeah, what was I saying? I was saying that, like, Twitch adding affiliates is great for Twitch because subs and bits for what, like 40% more users or something, and Twitch gets a cut of all of that by like 50%. So that's so much more revenue for Twitch. Plus people who then use ad rolls on that. Twitch gets a big cut of that. Like, yes, it made it easier, I guess made the transition to partner a lot easier for streamers. Twitch probably made a boatload of money off of it too. She'd finally calmed down, but seemed to still be in pain. I let her lean on my shoulder as I took her back to the lab. Still better than YouTube. Yeah, good luck making it onto YouTube and actually getting... First of all, good luck even just making it to where you can be payable. That's, in a 1-year span, you need 1,000 subscribers and 1,000 watched hours of content or something like that. Good luck with that, first of all. It is very difficult. And even then, I think YouTube... Yeah, I mean, Twitch actually has the same thing. If you look in the clause for affiliates, and I assume it's the same for partner, if you don't stream for a year, Twitch can actually revoke your affiliate status. I assume it's the same for partner. Would they actually do that? I don't think so. Because let's say you have someone who didn't stream for a year and then comes back, and even if they just stream a handful of times after that and people, give them bits or something, you might not... Most people probably aren't hitting the payout, the $100 payout in that time. So Twitch just gets to keep all that money. Any money that's not paid out, Twitch just gets to keep all of that. So... Honestly, I don't really see it as a reason for them to ever take it away. Is it a valid reason? Yes, but from a logistical point of view, I don't see why Twitch would actually do that. Like, what is gained by removing people from affiliates? The only reason I can think of is it makes it, I guess, more exclusive. Oh, okay. They will give you the remaining money that wasn't the payout? Okay, that's nice to know. Okay. I guess it's just easier on their bookkeeping, but still, if they don't kick you out of affiliate, they never have to pay you out, so... Once we got back, she went to sleep and didn't wake up. Okay, she's dead now. Her headache seemed to have calmed down, but sometimes she would still moan. I'd contacted Mayuri and the others, and they were probably going to arrive soon, but... The words she'd said before. What was that? Were those fragments of her lost memories? If that was the case, then she really was... Just as I went to look at the clock. Well, look at the clock. Oh right, our cell phone doesn't tell us the time, because it's useless. The door opened and Mayuri and Lukiko came running in.
大丈夫なんですか？
ああ、今はよく眠っている。
よかった。
Even then for the YouTube ads, so first of all, you can only make money on videos that are at least 15 minutes long. Your video can't contain swearing in the first 1 minute. And you get paid, I don't remember the exact amounts, but I think it's like $1 US per 1,000 views on a video. So if you, let's say you want to make $100, there's 100,000 views you'd need to make in a month, which... good luck! Must have heard us talking, because Kagari's eyes slowly opened.
あれ？ここどこ？
She looked around, afraid.
落ち着いて。ここはラボですよ。ラボ？日本？
そうだよ。日本の秋葉原だよ。
日本？私、日本に？ああ、そっか。私、交換留学で。そういえば、公演の準備は。
留学？
様子が変です。ね
え、おかり。
Exchange program? Lecture? Those were Kurisu's memories.
あれ？論文はパパに見てもらおうと思って頑張って書いたんだけど。
落ち着け、カガリ。それは君の記憶じゃない。
Kagari looked up at me in a daze.
オカリンさん。
そう。お前はシーナ・カガリだ。マキセ・クリスじゃない。
カガリ。私はシーナ・カガリ。
Well.
ルカ子、悪いが、カガリのことを頼む。
Lukiko looks very happy, considering her roommate just like collapsed into a pile of screams.
はい。
Kagari was confused for a while after that, but she gradually started to calm down again. What have we learned? That thinking about presentations and paperwork makes you have mental breakdowns? Once it seemed safe to do so, I'd take her back to Yanabayashi Shrine. Maybe we weren't going to be able to look after Kagari ourselves after all. Maybe we should take her to a hospital? Was it my ego that was stopping me from doing so? I kept thinking about that as I was walking along.
今日はマユシーも一緒に泊まることにするね。
ああ、そうしてもらえると助かる。
Make Kagari feel a lot
なるべ
better.
く普段と同じように接してやってくれ。
わかった。
I told her to contact me right away if anything came up, then headed back to the lab.
カガリ、ひどいの？
That was the first thing Susa has said to me when I walked through the door. She and Maho were sitting on the sofa. I told them about the situation already via Ryan. Did we now? Oh, we actually did! Good job, developers, for actually putting this text conversation in my phone. For people like me who are like, oh, I bet you didn't do this. You didn't expect me to look at it. They were still worried anyway, probably.
今は落ち着いてるが、一時はかなり混乱していた。
やっぱりクリスの記憶？
ああ。ここまで来ると、もう間違いないだろう。
I still don't know why, but inside Kagari's mind were Kurisu Makise's memories. It was Mayuri. The question was how to deal with this problem. There were limits to what we could do on our own. The most we could hope to do was to figure out how this had happened. That wouldn't be a real solution. To really fix this, we need to get her back to normal, erase Kurisu's memories, and restore the original Kagari. For that, we need the help of a specialist. Maho Hyajo was a specialist in that sense. There was nobody else who knew as much about memories and the workings of the brain. There was a problem. We still hadn't told her that Kagari was from the future. In this world line, Maho didn't know Suzuha and the others that well. Of course, she didn't know about the future or the time machine. Was it okay to tell her?
ねえ、あなたたちはかがりさんとはどうやって知り合ったの？漆原さんのところに来る前は彼女はどこで何をしていたのかしら？
かがりは千葉の県境で倒れていたところを助けられたんだ。意識を取り戻した時点でそれ以前の記憶はなかった。
That was the same as the last world line.
でも子供の頃の記憶はあるんでしょ？鈴葉さんは彼女と知り合いだったのよね。子供の頃の彼女はどこで何をしていたの？
Suzuha looked at me silently. I ignored her and checked my phone for messages. It's Mayuri. Is Kagari okay? We can say option 1, she's fine, don't worry. Option 2, I'll do something, probably unrelated to what you're asking about. Option 3, we're all doing our best. Samus's, as I think you're the only active person, do you have a preference? 1, she's fine, don't worry. 2, I'll do something. 3, we're all doing our best. I'm going to stop here at 1 so I remember what's actually number 1, number 2, and number 3. 3, we're all doing our best. Okay. We're all doing our best. That's right, Daru and Maho are helping. And so are you. Yay, Mayuri praised us. Mayuri, give us head pats. And we've got your help too. It'll be fine. Yeah, Maishi will do her best. Yeah, keep it up. Thanks, Okarin. The two of those are not related. Felt responsible for what Kagari was going through right now. Probably. I could see on her face that she wanted to bring back the old Kagari. Somehow.
おじさん、どうする？ヒヤジョーさんに話しても。
Maho was a scientist. We told her the truth. We'd be sure to take an interest in time travel. We might start working on a time machine. This was a big risk. But...
カガリを救う方法を突き止めるためにはやむを得ないか。
We'll probably get through the end of this topic, and when it changes, I think that's where we'll call the stream. I thought for a moment, then nodded. My priority right now is helping Kagari. Suzuha nodded, and then turned to face Maho.
今から話すことを知っているのはごく一部の人間しかいない。だから、ヒヤジョーさんも決して他の誰かに漏らしたりはしないで。
Yes, Samus is. I know I started 2 hours and 45 minutes late today.
なんなの急に。
Maho seemed overwhelmed by the sudden chill emanating from Suzuha. But Suzuha kept
冗談
talking.
に聞こえるかもしれないけど、冗談なんかじゃないんだ。約束できるか否か。答えは2つに1つだ。
Maho looked at me, hesitant. But she must have seen something in my face.
わかったわ。誰にも言わない。約束する。
And Samus's, I get to extra scold you because that means you subscribed to me 3 hours ago when I wasn't even live yet. She nodded.
それじゃあ、まずはさっきの質問の答え。子供の頃、私とかがりがどこで何をしていたか。私たちは第三次世界大戦が終わった後の未だ各地で内戦が続く戦時下に暮らしていた。
I'm waiting for Maho's face to go from this
2036年の
to like. Maho's mouth hung open for a second, but soon her cheeks flushed with anger.
からかわないで。人が真剣に聞いてるのに。
Suzuha remained silent. Her eyes were ice cold and staring straight into
宮
Maho's.
城さん、鈴葉が最初に忠告したはずだ。これは作り話でも冗談でもない。鈴葉とかがりは25年後の未来からやってきた存在なんだ。タイムマシンでな。
タイムマシン？そんなものが作れるわけが。
その理論の大元を作ったのがマキセ・クリスだと言ってもか。
The second I said Kurisu's name, the anger vanished from her face.
そんなの。わかった。聞くだけは聞くわ。
Suzuha and I told her almost everything. How I met Kurisu, about the D-mails, what happened in the Alpha World line, development of the time machine, Mayuri's death, the tractor field theory, what happened in 2036, what was going on with Kagari. The one thing I didn't tell her was the truth about Kurisu's death.
とりあえず話を整理させて。つまり鈴葉さんとかがりさんは岡部さんに未来を変えてもらうために2036年からやってきたと、そういうのね。そうだよ。
Maho sank into the sofa and sighed.
岡部さんにそんな大層なことができるとは思えないわ。たった一人の人間に全人類の命運がかかっているなんて。
俺だって無理だと思っている。
I'd given up, actually. Yay! On the entire future.
到底信じられない話ではある。あるけど。でも、あなたの言ったその理論なら、確かにタイムリープは可能かもしれない。それに何より、その理論の元を作ったのはクリスなんでしょ？だったら、検証に値するわ。だってあの子は天才だもの。
The words together seemed like a mixture of admiration, jealousy, and envy.
信じるんだな。
その代わり今度見せてほしいわね。そのタイムマシンを。乗ってきたって言うならあるんでしょ？どこかに。ある。すぐ近くにね。検証作業は必要だけど、とりあえずあなたたちの話を信じることにする。だからあなたたちも私に信じさせるよう協力して。わかった。
There was no hesitation in her voice. Suzuha said it was okay, it wasn't my place to speak. Ma was going to help, that was all that mattered.
話をかがりの件に戻そう。さっきも言ったように、はぐれたのは彼女が10歳の頃。そしてそれ以降、先月になって見つかるまでの足取りは全くつかめていない。俺はその間、彼女が海外にいたんじゃないかと考えている。
For how long, I had no way of knowing. It may have been the whole time, or perhaps only a week.
オカリンおじさんの仮説だと、ビクトル・コンドリア大学にいたことになるね。
ああ。そして何らかの形でアマデウスと接触した。
The look on Maho's face was one between acceptance and resignation. She sighed loudly. A copy of Kurisu's memory data had been saved for use by Amadeus. This data was the only possible source for the memories within Kagari's head. Her words today had only strengthened my theory. Exchange program, lecture, these fragments of memory were all from before she'd come to Japan. Memory data had been saved just before she'd come to America. That was another match.
この前レスキネン教授に確認してみたんだけど、クリスの記憶データは凍結されたまま誰もアクセスできないはずだと言っていたわ。ただそれが事実かどうかを確かめる権限は今の私にはない。それにプロジェクトが凍結される前に何者かがデータを持ち出したことだって考えられるし。
持ち出すことのできる人間はアマデウスの研究に携わっていた人間に限定されるんじゃないか。
そうとは限らない。外部からサーバーに侵入すれば誰にだってできることよ。
Daru did it. Anyone was an exaggeration. Your average person wouldn't have a clue. You'd have to be a super hacker.
問題は目的ね。
Daru sucks because he's really the villain. Here we go.
なぜそんなことをする必要があったのか。
The most obvious possibility was that someone wanted to access Kurisu Makise's mind. But Amadeus should suffice for that. There's no need to move her memories into another person's brain. Why would they want her mind that badly anyway? She was a genius, sure, but she'd only published a single paper. There was no reason to think it would be that important to anyone. Unless...
もしクリスの記憶の中にタイムマシン理論の基礎があることを何者かが知ったとしたら
someone out there would want it.
でもクリスがその理論に行き着いたのはあなたの言う別の世界線なんでしょ。
中鉢論文を知ってるか。
中鉢？それってロシアに亡命した？
そうだ。
例の論文には私も軽く目を通したけど、とても論文と言えるものではなかったわ。
あれは劣化コピーだと俺は考えている。オリジナルが別に存在するんだ。
一体何の話？
ドクター中鉢の本名は牧瀬正一。クリスの実の父だ。
I thought back what I saw that day.
私も考えてみたの。タイムマシンは作れるのかどうか。読んでパパの意見を聞かせてほしい。
悪くない内容だ。
He looks so friendly, like a newspaper salesman. Who buys newspapers still?
この論文はパパと共同署名でもいいと私は思って。
学会には出すな。これは私が預かっておく。
そういえば。
People who aren't at home and have valuable items?
クリスが日本に行く前に言ってたの。父親に会うって。新しい理論の発表会をするらしくて、その招待状が来たって。
That day, Nakabachi had stolen Kurisu's paper. After that, he'd gone to Russia. He'd published his own paper. I hadn't seen it myself. Whenever I thought about it, I always thought about what I'd seen that day, what happened right after, so I'd been avoiding it. But I'd heard the professors at school talking about it. It was so terrible that it had become something of a running gag. If it was just a bad copy of an original, if what had been published was just Nakabachi's own reinterpretation of Kurisu's theory, and her original still existed somewhere else. That's right. Kurisu had written the original theory. It had to be better than that. It actually succeeded in making the time leap machine.
それじゃあ、その論文の存在を知った誰かがクリスの記憶からタイムマシンに関する理論を取り出そうとしてるってこと？
第三次世界大戦が起きたきっかけは EU とロシアによるタイムマシン競争の過熱なんだ。 そこにアメリカまで横槍を入れて収拾がつかなくなった。
See, I'm surprised America wasn't at the forefront of
ま
this.
さに時代は歴史通りに動き出している。
Those people had attacked the lab in the last world line. Noji'd said they weren't Japanese, but they were military. Some military wanted Kurisu's time machine theory. That would explain why they chose to download her memories into Kagari's mind. Okay, Lukako. I'm worried about Kagari. Option 1. Believe in us. Option 2. We'll do what we can. Option 3. Don't worry, it'll be fine. That's believe in us is 1. We'll do what we can is 2. Don't worry, it'll be fine is 3. What did I say that you wanted to say? Option 2. It bothers me that I can't do anything. Not much different from me. Don't say that. You're much stronger than me. I'm not that great. You always think I'm a lot better than I really am. But thank you. I'll do the best I can to live up to the person you think I am. Thank you. You really are strong. Oh, about the America comment? My bad, Samuelson. Amadeus would never talk about something that didn't want to talk about. But what about a human? There are truth serums and torture methods. A human could be forced to talk. Maybe. Maybe they'd done that to Kagari. Of course, this was just a guess. But if it was a military that had tried to kidnap Kagari, it was quite possible.
記憶のデータを脳に移植するか。
可能なんだろう。今の技術でも。クリスはそれを成し遂げた。それはクリスが研究していたことの応用だと言っていた。
ええ、そうね。可能よ。それに、
A film
もともとアマデウ
theory.
スはそのために作られたものなんだし。
Medical applications, wasn't it? Leskin had talked about it at the seminar, and Maho had interpreted. This world line, Amadeus had been shut down, and the seminar never happened, though. Maho gave me the same explanation I'd heard before. I was right. Memory data transplants were theoretically
クリスの
possible.
考え出したタイムリープマシンだってその応用だわ。
もっとも、そのどちらも自分の頭の中に自分の記憶を移植するという目的で作られたものだがな。
Kurisu had said that even that was
じゃ
dangerous.
あ他人の脳に別人の記憶を移植するとどうなる？
単純に OS の違う PC のハードディスクに別のデータをコピーというわけにはいかないと思う。そもそも人間の脳のキャパシティがどれくらいあるのかすら分かっていないの。容量的なことだけを言えば20歳の女性2人分の記憶くらいは余裕で保存できるというデータはあるけど。
Is that a typo? Did they mean in terms instead of double quotes? What is going on? Did you break Twitch again, Samuses? Darwood once told me that the brain storage capacity was 3.24
だけ
terabytes.
ど問題はそれ以外の部分。岡部さんの言う通り自分自身の頭に記憶をダウンロードすることすらまだ実用段階には至っていない。それなのに他人の記憶をとなるといつ齟齬を起こしてもおかしくないわ。そして実際に今そのエラーは起きつつある。
このまま放っておくとカガリはどうなる？ひょっとしてマキセ・クリスになってしまうのか？
記憶と人格は別物よ。脳の中で記憶を扱うのは海馬と大脳皮質。一方で人格は前頭前野の働きによって形成されている。それらの働きはお互い密接につながっている部分も大きいわ。
Different parts of the brain had different functions, but they weren't completely independent. Memories probably played a larger role in forming your personality.
2つの記憶が混在することで脳に対する負担もかなり大きくなってるはず。このまま放っておいた場合、最悪 カガリさんの人格は崩壊よ。
Okay, Samus's wants a stretch. Suza slammed her fist into her knees in
それ
frustration.
を防ぐ手立てはあると思う。
All right, Samus's. I mean, do you want a stretch with random technology from behind me? I've acquired some new random technology. So if you want, I can hold up more random technology. Yeah, okay. This is now random technology stretch period time. Okay, here's a Commander Deluxe. It's a full joystick. It's got 2 buttons here. It's got a button here and a button on the side, and it's got a switch that changes left and right. So I guess, you know, this is, for me, this is left, but maybe it could be right. And as I'm putting this around, I can feel there's clearly just 8 spots, even though it's a 360. It fits into 8 slots, similar to like how a GameCube controller feels. You can, like, it's got the little notches. We got that. We got an Atari 1010 Walkman. Say when it was made in Japan. It doesn't have a date on it, but it can record, it can play, rewind, advance, pause, stop, eject. It's got 2 I/O connectors, so it looks like it can take multiple inputs, and that's what you can use to record off of. Or you can play off of this and potentially record onto another one. So we got that. What else have we? That one's stuck in some stuff. That looks like an Atari modem. We got another joystick here. What is this? This is brand new. This is WICO, W-I-C-O command control. It's an American one. Oh man, this thing, it's pretty stuck. It's been around quite a while. But looking at it, I can see it's got the 4 cardinal directions and then 5 points between each, so it has 24 directions. Button on top, button there, and it's got a toggle that says button selector, base, or stick. I guess that's if you're using this button or this button. Got that. And what else we got? We got an old stereo. I think this is. Let's take a look at that. While we stretch the other leg. This brand is realistic. Yeah, we got volume, we got gain, we got standby. It's got a headphone jack. Yeah, it's got its megahertz and kilohertz frequencies. It's a realistic DX302. Ooh, it's got, you can pre-select some tunes. It's got, what, 6 pre-select bands. Wow. Got lights. You can change the decibel amount. Yeah, got that. And what the heck is this? What is this beast? So this appears to be an Atari printer. Yeah, so it's got bold, it's got draft mode, it's got paper feed. Branding. This is a Star Micronix America is the brand name. And it's a Star NX10 dot matrix printer. So back in there, cover you up. Then I got a box of just like power cables. I think that's, is that ribbon tape? That's destroyed. I don't even know. There's some boxes underneath them. I don't know what's in them. It's technology. There you go. There's... Don't run over my cord. There's random technology that I've acquired since last stream. Is that an Atari landline? Which one? Atari. We've got, this one looks like an Atari, is this a modem? It's an Atari XM301. It could be a phone for routing phone calls. It also could be a dial-up connection. Oh, making a joke about my phone? Well, I may actually have an Atari phone routing system there. Alright. I mean, do we have a brand name on this phone? I don't see anything on the back. Nothing on the top. Yeah, we're not sure what that phone is.
Kagari さんの頭の中からクリスの記憶を取り除くしかないでしょうね。
できそうか。
脳のデータが解析できれば、あるいはでもできるようになるとしても何年
Oh, the phone's sitting in the wall against the background. It is not, but let me see what brand it is. It is a VTech. There you go, a little VTech. This one, it came with, you can get these like packs at like Walmart or places like that, where it's got a big one that's got the answering machine, and then you get like 2 other like little handsets like this. So we got one here and we got one upstairs. And then under it, that's a cooler, that's a bar fridge. What's on top of the bar fridge? That's a microwave. Name subject to change. Uzaha's fists were clenched so tightly I could almost hear the sound. I could tell she was blaming herself for letting Kagari run away.
一つ手があるとするなら、もう一度過去のかがりさんの記憶を上書きすることかしら。
もう一度記憶を。
そもそもかがりさんの記憶を操作した人間はかがりさんの記憶を残すつもりはなかったと思うの。
She might have been right. Putting 2 sets of memories in one mind was just asking for problems. It means that the experiments they'd done on her had resulted in a different outcome than they'd intended. In a sense, they had failed. Sounds like CERN.
もう一度かがりさんの記憶をきちんとした装置で脳に上書きしてあげれば、あるいは元通りにできるかも
Except
しれない。
if it was CERN, Tenoji wouldn't be helping us.
しかしそのためには
Sounds like Daru.
バックアップが取ってあることを期待するしかないわね。装置はどうする？簡単に見つかればいいけど。ないなら作ればいいわ。
そんな簡単に。
でもクリスは作れたんでしょ？
え？
Oh, right. Had to work similarly to the time leap machine.
だったら私にも作れる。うん。作ってみせる。
I might be able to help with
問題
that.
は記憶データが
Will
どこに
we?
あるか、
No.
ね。こればっかりは何とかして突き止めるしか方法がないわ。
There simply wasn't enough information. All we knew is that it was a non-Japanese Western military. And that information wasn't solid either. If anyone held the key, it was the woman in the motorcycle suit. Thought of a name and quickly brushed it from my
何か
mind.
いい方法でも思いついた？
いや、なんでもない。
It wasn't Yuki Amane. Couldn't be. We talked late into the night trying to come up with a new way to find out who'd done the experiment in Kagari. Even though we spent a lot of time on it, none of us had any good ideas. And that transition feels like the perfect place to stop for tonight, as we're already like half an hour over.